going on, family? How y'all doing? Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Mr. Trev Smooth, Aisha, Doggy, Shan Monet, Amira, Sweetie, me, myself, and Lapeef JR. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Doing well. Friday Junior.
So who Friday Junior? Oh yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Let's see where you went with that. Happy Friday to all, man. Good to see you guys. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're catching this on replay, do me a favor, hit that like button also as well. What's going on, Jasmine Rose? I believe I seen you yesterday. Meals 36, 111 Theory. How you doing? Mr. Dale Matthews, Power Driver, Branu. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you guys in attendance tonight. Hoping for a great show tonight. What's going on, Bruiser? How you doing? Let's see what we got going on here. Mr. M. White in the house as well. What up, M. White?
What up, Joe? How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. How about yourself?
Just woke up. You already know.
Oh, yeah. Just that time, huh?
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and get this show started, man. Again, hit that like button. That's all I'm asking for. Just that like button to be hit. And go ahead and share the stream. This first topic, man. I seen this clip. It's from Jamal. What's his name? Jamal. Start with a W. I'm going to go ahead and run this clip, man. We'll go ahead and react to it. Here we go.
Me for dating outside my race. But I was dating outside of my race because they was doing things better than my race. I'm
like
gonna keep it
100.
Define
better.
My
Define
Spanish,
better.
Well, not better, because I know where she getting ready to go. Not better.
I know, you
But
said they were
not-
doing things
no, not
better. I wanted to know what better meant.
Not better. I'm gonna change that.
I'm trying to save you for the
I know
for the
you
people,
is.
for
That's
the
what I'm saying.
culture.
Not better for the culture.
There we go.
Right, not better. I was dating Puerto Rican, I was dating Dominican, I was dating African, I was dating all type of other related size American black, right? They were doing way more of what we expect we want our woman to do more than our American. Our American got real comfortable
Give
with.
me some examples.
Oh man, I mean, their mannerisms are different. Like even my Indian one was from Syria, one of them countries over there, right? I didn't have to really say much to do and be treated like a king. You see what I'm saying? A lot of times with our own American black, they expect so much of us and what we're supposed to do. Like things like if we go out and eat and we just have a nice dinner, we can go anywhere and eat and get a nice dinner. It had to be Ruth Chris, or it had to be this, that, or it had to be this, that. Then I get somebody that's just as fine, a Cuban or a Colombian. They don't care about nothing. They care about you and your household, even though they still care about the money, but it's not about the money. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's a difference. Not better, but sometimes we get tired of hearing, Birkin bags and sushi.
Do you think that's fair? Because I feel like there's a certain type of woman
Right.
that does demand that. And to
Right.
me, I think it depends on the bait you're using and where you're looking. If you're gonna go get a model from Instagram that got the BBL, the snatched in stomach, and has all the things that check off money hungry and surface, you're gonna get that. If you're gonna meet a girl and through different ways and ask different questions, you're gonna find that out a lot earlier on, that what's important to her.
I'm not doubting that, but I'm just talking about even if you look on just a regular dating app and just look at what a woman may state that she requires. You know, I'm saying these things because it feels as if social media again is the barometer. Okay, and it's the comparison, and when you're comparing yourself to all these other women, and of course, even with the BBLs, because I'm like, that's fine, but I mean,
What's BBL? I'm sorry.
Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, okay.
And there's no shade to women that have
No,
them. I'm just
I was
saying.
wondering, I was waiting for it too. I'm like, excuse me?
And
Right.
there's no shade to everyone that has them. I'm just saying, if you're going by just surface things and that's who you're going afterwards, then guess what? She gonna run them pockets.
Shout out to Vivica Fox, man. Here she got a BBL. Can't confirm it, but I think we may be able to say it. But anyhow, I think that was a great breakdown, because we often hear this all the time as far as men going out the country to look for women that are not modern here in America. They seem to be a little bit more traditional. They seem to be better. So do you think that men are making excuses? Do you think that we have good quality women here in America and they're just looking at seeing what they see on Instagram and what they're seeing in the media? Is there good quality women here, or do you think they're just making excuses? I'm gonna go ahead and start with you first, Trev. I know you just came out the country, man. What did you notice? What you seeing?
Yeah. So yeah, anyone who doesn't know, I'm currently conducting an investigation to see what's really good with the this passport bro movement. Why are people leaving the country? And I'm one country in so far. I did venture out into the Philippines, and is it different? Yes, right. There are some common misconceptions. If you are a simp here, you will likely end up a simp there. That and many of the other countries, just from people that I've asked, I've talked to a lot of people from other countries and people who have visited other countries. But overall, are people worried as much about the money? No, not everyone is in a capitalistic society like we are, right? Money is pretty much everything here. Is the culture. That's the problem. It's the culture. And he did a few things wrong. He sounded anybody who don't know homie, that's the who don't know Jamal, he's like the Tubi king. He's all over Tubi. He's like in all the damn Tubi movies, and he's always been doing like low budget films since even before Tubi was around. Kind of ignorant just from, me hearing him speak with this, because he was saying, he had a girl from India, and then he said, I don't know what country she's from. I'm like, India's a country, but whatever. He tried to put it off on like just sisters in general. I don't think so. I think it's Western civilization overall, just because that's what we are. When you do go over to other places that have sisters as well, it's just a different environment, and it's just the way they're raised. We can't say whether it's better or worse, but it's certainly different. It may be different for some people, and a lot of people are leaving. You don't understand the adjustments that you're going to have to make living in another country, like the bandwidth that you appreciate over here, right? The conveniences, the infrastructure, the roads, and not every one of those places are third world, but there's going to be plenty of adjustments. There's certain things and certain liberties that we have. Like, I like to be strapped everywhere I go, and you can't really do that. I've investigated. It's extremely difficult to, obtain those licenses as a foreigner or not even natural born citizen, or even the fact that you can't buy land or have ownership without going through crazy loopholes. So there's a lot of that. And but we'll get back to the women. As far as the women, a lot of them are definitely more family oriented. Do I think that you can find them here? Yes. Right. I know plenty of women who are here who are very much in tune with the whole family thing. There are some sisters, including sisters, right, that will treat you well, right? I think that they are overrepresented on the internet. Unfortunately, there are far too many, regardless of what. There are too many women who do behave like that, but I think they're a bit overrepresented. I think a lot of us don't know where to look, so we go into another country, and I think it is easier to find women like that in another country, to be honest. It is easier to find them like that, but if you know where to look here, you will. You're not going to find them necessarily on the dating apps, and if you are, then you're probably in the wrong kinds of dating apps. You need to find them in different places than a club. A lot of us look on a club or just in bars and different things, and you're not going to find wholesome women in places like that. You're not going to find that wife that you're looking for. So there's a lot of pressure on women to do these things, and men are not getting what they want out of women. So this is like a desperate call to just say, all right, I need to go somewhere else. I'm fed up with it over here. And you see the videos and the glamorization of it. But it's like social media, like anything else. People show you the highlight reels. Like just how when you see people on vacation, they don't show you that pink letter that they got in the mail because they continue to go on vacation and neglect their bills. So yeah, as I found out more, I'm gonna let y'all know more. But I'm having a lot of fun seeing the different things about it. I don't want to go on too damn long because I know other people want to go.
All right, let me go ahead and get to Aisha. I'm not sure if you saw the clip or not, but do you think men are making excuses when it comes to going overseas? I've had conversations, and I know some people, some women here that are great, but I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. Do you think it's that there's a difference between the women overseas? Is that something that you would know, or
I
are
think
you not
that
trying to entertain it at all?
I think that there is definitely a difference between the women over here and overseas. And that, I mean, I was in the military, I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Turkey, Italy. There is a big difference because it's just a different way of living. Like they want that man to take care of them. They need that. They're bred from early on that, you know, to be wives. Like a lot of the places where I went, I remember being very young and not understanding why they didn't leave the house at 18, right? Like they literally stay with their parents until they get married. And I didn't understand that concept until I got much, much older. I would say that for a man, a Black American man, to go overseas and to get a woman based on her values over there is insane. I wouldn't want. I think that you can find those women over here. I've been to the mosque. I've met the sisters. So it just depends on what you're looking for and your values. But I think that is feasible over here. I think that you would just have to change where you're looking. To say that those women don't exist over here is they do. You just have to change where where you're looking at. But I don't see that it would work long term. To move across the country and be in a completely different culture. I just think that that doesn't sound plausible to me. I think that you should just stay in the United States, and if you want a woman that has all those values, then find someone here.
All right, thank you. What about you, Mr. Darwin McPherson? Think the man making excuses? Is it a difference between the women and you? And also, what's your take on the clip so far?
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are they making excuses to go overseas? Okay, yeah, there are excuses made, but because there's a problem, I don't think the problem is being solved by going over there. At least I don't see it being solved. I do know there's a difference that they expect whenever they go overseas to those women, and there's a difference that the women they encounter expect out of them. And the difference is, from my understanding, is they expect the women to behave a specific way that they would prefer the women in the United States to behave. I think that's probably number one. Now, for the women over there, I think the expectation for the guys coming inbound is that their resources are stable. I have seen videos and content about that not necessarily being the case. A lot of guys are fronting and not really going over there with stable resources. But the problem, like I said, it doesn't solve the problem. There's plenty of women over here to work it out. The problem isn't the location. The problem is the actual person that's out here vetting and dating. So it doesn't solve the problem that they complain about. Otherwise, it would be a high rate of marriage coming back over here, or men staying over there. And from what I'm witnessing, that's not the case. Men are going over there to indulge, which, you know, it speaks to the point that I've been making about the initial problem that's causing the issue in the first place. They're going over there to indulge. It's easier to indulge over there. You got less restraint, less pushback, less criticism. You can be discreet about it. The laws are different. You absolve yourself completely when you go over there and behave like that. The women over here, they tend to put the guys in check over here, and they just don't stand for it here. So you got to go to a playground where you can kind of have your way. So from what I'm understanding, that's what's going on, because I don't see marriages and families being built in that type of, movement or whatever. But I might have to take a deeper dive, or it may be a different side of Passport Bros. But from what I'm seeing, that's not what I see. And if the problem is they can't have their way, and then they're going over there and obviously, yeah, they're solving the problem. They can go out and trash women out that don't matter. I mean, don't know no better. And I'll yield on that.
All right, go ahead, M. White. What are your thoughts about it, man? Men seeking value in women outside of America, and not particularly here. And do you think the women understand that there's a difference? Do you think they're actually taking a deep dive to really consider how things may be outside of America and how they may not be aware of the culture that exists outside of their norm?
So I believe that there is a segment of Passport Bros that probably don't even call themselves Passport Bros. It's men that actually do go over there and look for wives, right? I don't think that that's the majority, but I could be wrong because I'm not that, acclimated with the Passport Bros scene. But I have watched several videos. I just seen one last week. What's it? Is it Phuket? Am I saying it right, Trev? Phuket. You know that in Thailand? Or Phuket? You heard of that before? Phuket. Well, whatever. So
my bad.
the video I watched, it was two dudes talking about they experience, and they utilizing like a playground from the video I was watching, right? And one of the guys was mad at the other guy because he was saying he spent 1,500 baht as opposed to the other guy having to pay 3,000 baht for they services, they night services or whatever, right? And a lot of those men are just going and getting it in, and they making a dollar stretch and being able to live the life they wanted to live. What's up, Casey? Being able to live the life they wanted to live in America, and either their money wasn't long enough for it, or their social capital with the women here wasn't long enough for it. So they experiencing that. And that's not to negate that there are men going over there building businesses and getting married and all that other stuff. But the vocal video people that's putting it on blast seem to be just going for tourism to have fun. When it comes to American Black women, I think it's perfect. It's great women and it's terrible women. You know what I'm saying? It's a run a gambit. The real thing is, what is you bargaining with? What do you have to bring to the table? Because I see a lot of great women when I, be out and about. And I don't think it would be an issue finding a wife out of the women that I be meeting in different places when I used to go out. When I just was out on my LB thing, there were single women there. They seemed perfect fine. I didn't get to know them that well, but I kind of got a feeling for them. And since they were in that vicinity and that circle, they kind of had a pre-vetting, if you would, for certain things just being there, right? But everybody wouldn't be in that vicinity. So it really just depends on what you got of value. But he was talking about all the women he got and just being treated a different way. And I think, that might just have everything to do with how he working his number. So I'm not gonna put that on American Black women. I'll put that on individual. I ain't gonna always.
All right. Amira, what are your thoughts about it?
I'm happy. I'm so happy you have this topic, because I think I think that you guys aren't gonna like what I'm gonna say, but if you do, I'm happy that you do. But I believe, I see, I know, I don't just believe, I know that this is a false equivalency for men, American men going to other countries and saying that the women don't care about the money as much as American women. No, there's a difference. American women are alone, so they have to vouch for themselves because they are going into the dating market by themselves. So when they are demanding monies, it's because they're trying to look out for their best interest, but it makes them look bad and it makes it stressful for the relationship. In other cultures, it is ingrained in the culture. The money is going to come along because the family is advocating for the girl. So you don't have to have the woman saying, I want bags, I want money, I want this, because the family is going to demand that you have money to take care of her. So when you have American women advocating for themselves and having to tell the man outright, I need this, I need that. Yeah, it can come off bratty, but at the end, I hate that saying, at the end of the day, but at the end of the year, at the end of the 24-hour cycle, that is what's happening. The women are having to advocate for themselves. But the problem is that I see is that American women claim to be independent and claim to say that they don't need no man. But then when they find a man, they're like, oh, you got to take care of everything. Oh, but you take care of everything, but I have my own money, so you can't control me. I don't really understand the mentality when it comes to relationships in American women. But I mean, Asian women are some of the biggest gold diggers you ever see. They're the ones who came up with the saying, no money, no honey. What you think that come from? They are the biggest gold diggers you'll ever know. And to say the guy, I don't know who the gentleman is, but he said he go to the Philippines, I think it was, and he said, oh, they don't care about the money. They're not telling you that they care about the money, but they care about the money. And they're looking for the money. And because he's American, that's why they hang out with him, because of the money. But he's under this illusion that because they're sweet or they're kinder than American ladies, that they don't care, but they really do. The other thing I was thinking about was the culture. So because of cultural standards, other ladies of women, the other races of women don't have to outwardly say the things that they need from the men all the time, but they're just as bratty. I mean, you think Arab women don't bug their husbands for a bigger house, a nicer car, more clothes, more shoes? They do the same thing. They do. You just don't see it. And you just don't see it. But one thing that is different is that other ladies come with a little bit more usefulness. So it kind of makes up for their bratty personality. They come with more usefulness. Like, they're not afraid to work hard for the family. They come with skills. They know how to do things. They know how to care for the man and do all those things. So they kind of have a right to demand more things because they also are providing more value to the men. Because I've noticed that a lot of American women or Western ladies, they haven't been trained to be wives. And I know women hate when I say trained, but it is something that starts young. I mean, I didn't know I was being trained when I was being trained. But now looking back on my childhood, now I know I was being trained. I just didn't know at the time. But that training, it takes, anyway, but I see that a lot of Western ladies are not trained. So they want the world, but they don't provide value to the man. And on the other hand, the other ladies, they still want the world too, but at least they provide some value.
What are the women supposed to look for? Or other than money, what should the women care for?
Who are you asking that to?
The last person who spoke before me.
That's for you, Amir.
You don't know my name, Darwin?
I thought you knew I was talking to you. My bad. Yeah, I do.
No. I didn't know. I thought you were asking the panel because I had just finished.
No, I was asking you, like.
Okay. What else should they want other than money? I mean, they should want character. They should want a man with character more than anything. I mean, because character, it matters. But the reason why it's money, Darwin, is because money is the purest form of providerhood, or being able to provide is money. That's what people see as your ability to provide, is that you have money. So that's the reason why it's always money. But if it could be turned into different things like properties, assets, businesses, or something like that, then that would be an equivalent. But I would say character is the most important thing than money.
And how I get it. And how are these men to build? Where do they get their character from? Like, how do they build it?
I can't say that. All I know is how the men are raised in our families. I've never been a man, so I can't tell you, but from what I've seen is that the men, they just always hang out with the father and the fathers and the uncles, and they the ones who teach them how to do things. So I don't know.
Okay. Because from what I'm trying to get at is maybe these men don't have anything else to bring to the table. Or they have it, or they're not leading with that character. They're leading with their money. So the women don't know what else she should care about, because the men are not being trained to bring anything other than the money or stand on anything other than their resources. So indirectly, they're training each other to value a particular exchange. You get what I'm saying?
I do. But see, that's the reason why fathers are so important, because father can look past money, because he's not going to be flirting with money with another man. He's going to think about that man's character for his daughter. He's not going to look at him like, oh, look, all flashy money. He's not going to be mesmerized by that stuff. He's going to be looking at the character of the man, looking him in the eyes and understanding who he is inside rather than. But the money is always a plus. But fathers are so important.
All right. Let's go ahead and get Swinny in there. What are your thoughts about this conversation so far, man, in the clip? Swinny? We can't hear you.
Y'all hear me now?
You sound low.
What about now?
Yeah.
I think Amir is right. She said everybody cares about the money. What she did say, though, that was a little different is that they a little nicer when they ask for it. Potentially, maybe men over here wouldn't be as apprehensive of handing over their wallets if it was just asked a little bit nicer. Maybe if it came with a little appreciation, where it wasn't all about the money. And I think I seen that in the chat where a lot of people feel like, is it just where a lot of men feel like it's all about the money? It ain't nothing else. You don't care about anything else to get out of me except for my wallet. I think, you know what I mean? I think if it came with a little appreciation, where you appreciated the person that you was commanding this money from, you know, if you asking for somebody to take care of you, you know what I mean? I would think that would come with a little level of appreciation. But as far as the passport, bro, I guess that's what they're seeking out. Is, you know what I mean? One of the things that they say is that they do go over there and they get treated better, even if it is just for the sex trade. Even if they just going over there to get their rocks off, it comes with a little more, just a little more. What's the word I'm looking for, Marcus? What's the word I'm looking for?
Value proposition.
Yeah. Then just when you over here and it's just like, you know, like, damn, it's gonna be like that. Like they at least they try to make you feel better when you get the whole experience. You know what I mean? Even if it's just for the sex trade, it comes with a better experience than over here. Whereas, you know what I mean, you walk down the block and I guess you know what I mean, it's give me my money and then it's all roughneck and shit. You be like, wait a minute now. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would like to pose a question to y'all as a panel though. Because we talked about finding good women, right? And I seriously want to ask y'all, when was the last time y'all had a man and a woman in y'all life and y'all said, let me try to fix these two people up? The silence is deafening.
When you say fix them up, what do you mean, like hook them up?
Hey, I think you're a good dude. I think this is a good woman. I think they'll work out together.
Matchmaker?
Yeah.
Problem is when that shit don't work out, man, you held accountable for it. What's up with your mans? What's up with your home? I
Hey, that they used to do that all the time because that's what that came with the territory. You had to take but like the mere fact that we barely even have people in our circle to even put on with other people nowadays. Like you don't even, like, your friend circle is already so small that you can't even be like, hey, look, man, I know a good woman that I think you might hit it off with. I think we're better judges of character than we give ourselves credit for. but we
I've
don't
done-
try. But
I've
we
done
don't
it.
try.
I've
I
done
know,
it before. I
I know
just got pushed back.
scumbags and married people. That's it. Scumbags and married people. No one else.
Every time I
Going
try
out.
to do that shit, like for example, if I had a homeboy, it's always either my homeboys or some of my white friends or something.
Wait a minute. Let me go back to Trey. You mean to tell me your circle of people in your life, they are either married or single and trash?
Mostly married, but yes.
God, do y'all not understand how jacked up that is? That we look at our friend and be like, man, either they are married and they already doing their own thing, or they're single and trash.
I wouldn't. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, I want to say this before you, Casey. Congratulations, sis.
Oh, thank you, y'all.
Congratulations.
My face all fat and puffy from the baby, but I'm happy to be here tonight. So Sweeney, you really brought up a good point. I think for me, because Reese and I have large circles, but people are always on different timelines. Does that make sense? Like the guy may be looking for a wife, but the girl that comes in mind, I feel like she may be immature and it's not going to be like a good match emotionally, and they might end up wasting each other's time, or the girl might be ready and she's serious. The guy's a great guy, but his focus is off. Like, I feel like it's never two people that I'm like, okay, they're on the same timeline and I can see them working it out. It's either the timeline or immaturity that plays a part with why we don't really matchmake too much. But I'll say Reese and I were, my best friend was the one who hooked us up. She spoke at our wedding about the situation. Her boyfriend at the time was Reese's best friend. And so I was out of state. I came back to school and he was like, who is that? Where'd she come from? And so she kind of was like, nah, because she thought his timeline was off. And so she put it off for a minute until she knew he was serious. And then she introduced us and the rest is history. So I think it can work, but you have to know that two people are serious. And like Trev and Darwin just said, you don't want to be caught in the middle and be pulled in the middle of like drama between two people that you're cool with.
You know what we need to do? Because I like what you said, Casey. You said sometimes you got that they both good people, right? But one of them may be not, you know what I mean, not serious, and the other one may, you know what they used to do? You used to make that motherfucker serious. You used to walk up to her like, girl, you fucking tripping. Get your shit together. Or dude, bro, come on, bro. You got to get up out there. You got to stop playing around.
And you know what? We used to do that, but at this big old age with everyone having their own families and careers and lives, like the older you get with people, I think the less energy you have for BS with friendships, right? When you're younger, you'll sit your friends down and, you know, you try to guide them and be on the same page and like, you know, this isn't right. But I'm not about to beat you over the head as I get older. Like I'm not, because I understand you either want it or you don't want it. And for me, if I'm taking the time out to give you some advice to help you with an outcome that you may be looking for, I'll tell you, I'm not going to not say nothing. Now, don't get it misconstrued. Like Reese and I will not say anything. We'll say something, but to over and over, like babysit an adult, it's a little frustrating, and it also puts a strain on the friendship. And so a lot of times if people don't listen to, if they didn't listen to their parents, they didn't listen to their siblings, and then here you are, a friend from the outside saying, hey, have you thought about doing this way, if this is the outcome that you want? I know at work, like I'll come across younger girls. I've said, you know, they'll see me pregnant and they're like, oh, is this your first one? I'm like, no, this is my third child. They're like, oh my gosh. And I immediately tell them, think about kids now. You're in your 20s. Think about a relationship. It's time for you to get serious. Oh no, I have time. You don't have time, right? And so I'm always a voice of reason, even to strangers, because people will look at you, they'll want your outcome, but they don't see all the things that you went through and the decisions that you made early on to get to that outcome, because they just want that completed picture. So I definitely believe in preaching to strangers, people that comment on your life. Give them the truth, give them the facts. People look at my parents and say, "Oh my God, your mom and dad, they're 2 years from 50 years being married." How did they get to that? They got to that by taking life seriously at a young age. It didn't come in their 40s and 50s. They did it in high school and college age. That's how they developed a family with 4 kids, almost 4 married children, 3 married children, 1 engaged, like almost 8 grandchildren. You have to make decisions early on if you want the outcome down the line. And so, but some people, you can't tell them nothing, Sweeney. You can't tell them.
And that is exactly the reason why we are.
No, the reason why I don't do it is different though. I'll be honest with you. I don't do that shit because when I did used to do that, it wasn't even about the relationship between the two people I was putting together or I was delivering interest to on behalf of the other one. Hell, it was because a lot of it was the girls that was a problem. So the girls would come to me and say, "Hey, do you got any friends that's like, I'm trying to find a hubby like Shaq," like, or they'll go to my wife and say, "I'm trying to find a man like yours. Like, do he got any brothers?" And then my wife would look at that as you're probably looking at my husband a certain way. So, and that's why I kind of stepped up. She made me understand it from a woman's point of view that women typically do that. They're looking at your body of work, and they're trying to map it to people that you might have in your circle as if they got similar qualities and character. That's the reason why they would prefer you to hook them up with somebody. I'm like, it don't really happen like that, but I kind of understood my wife, like it just didn't sit right with her. You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of seemed like they were putting me up under microscope. Her female friends were putting me up under a microscope as if, they were checking me out, attraction, character, person, all these other things. So that's the only reason why I stepped out of it. But I used to always be like, "Yo, yeah, my wife got some friends that's showing up at the party. You know what I'm saying? You should pull up." You know what I'm saying? My wife got a lot of homegirls she went to college with and that was in the military with. You might find attractive. Pull up. I just stopped doing that shit. They just had to organically, pull up and figure that out on their own. I didn't want to be the middleman. And I'm like, "Did you tell her that?" Like, nah, I got time for that.
So I got another question that I'm gonna leave y'all alone. And I just kind of want y'all to answer this. Now, for the fellas, I want y'all to answer it. How many women do you know that you can seriously vouch for? And then for the ladies, how many men do you know in your circle? It ain't got to be like immediate friend or nothing like that, but like somebody that's kind of cousin, a brother, or something like that. How many men do you know that you can legitimately vouch for and put them in front of women that you know and you think it might work out? Well, not necessarily work out, but you can just vouch for that person.
I know. Was that to women or was that a general?
I want men to answer how many women they know, and then I want the ladies to answer how many men do they know that they can vouch for. Because I know if we're talking about the same sex, a lot of us kind of give the same sex the benefit of the doubt. But when you talk about the opposite sex, you're a little more critical.
I don't know too many.
Does this include the women that you kind of like?
It could be
business with, like work with,
business person that you know at the job, or a sister, or auntie, some.
Most of them I don't personally know, only client wise. I say maybe 12 women that's still struggling to find somebody. I can put them in front of somebody, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like putting them in front of somebody only solves half the problem. Like.
No, not just.
I would also have to know the person I'm putting in front of them because I know all this stuff about the women, so I would know what type of man is gonna fit. But if I don't know that guy, like it don't even matter if I put him in front of him. It's not gonna be like it's a high chance that it'll work out.
So I got 2 guys I'm thinking of that I would 100% fix up with somebody, and they've already expressed to me that they're ready for marriage. They standards for what they want is real specific. So the women that I know that are married don't fit the look criteria for what they specifically want. they have a real specific like genre of woman that both of them kind of want. They different, but I kind of know the genre of the women that they want. As far as the women, I can't offhand that I would just run out and try and fix somebody up with that I interact with enough to fully vet them all the way. I'm not, most of the people I know is married to keep it, the single ones, they enjoying their life. They're not really trying to get locked down right now. But I know like at Soho House, if you are looking for a woman that's in business, it's a lot of like decent women that be at Soho on the regular and they network within each other. I don't know if they trying to move forward with marriage though, or the men they run into ain't really trying to move forward with marriage right now because they exploring the field and they just got their money. So they just now have the ability to do things they wanted to do when they was younger. So I'd say like in another 5 to 10 years, those men probably could take those women serious. But off rip the number that I would say, hey, this guy and this woman, offhand, I ain't got none for you on the women's side. I don't really be around too many single women.
You think before they got their money, it would have been a better shot? Because it sounds like you said when they got their money.
For the men, no, hell no. They needed to get their money so they could live the life they want to live first, and then decide like I say, I'm a believer that if you for the men specific I'm thinking of, I think they wouldn't have been able to get the type of woman confidence wise, because some people, money affects you differently. It raises your confidence and it makes you feel like a better man and all those things. The ones that are single, they needed to get to that point. All the men that didn't need money to build that confidence and competency within themselves, they had like Casey could tell you, all probably like 25 of the guys, they all had all the women they wanted. So when it was time for them to want to get married and settle down, they just picked what they wanted from out of that field. But
is it any money more, or they just pick the best one they had experience with?
Best one and emotion, who they had emotional attachment with. So some of them might have like it wasn't like they were like, oh, this is the most beautiful one, but this the one for whatever reason that they came up with, whatever they individual thing was that they came up with.
All right. Let me run this next clip, but before I do, a couple super chats. Meal 36, $2 says, peace, happy Ramadan, brothers and sisters. Great show. Del Will with the 1999 says, traditional versus modern is a matter of perspective. Traditional women of the past were the modern women of their time. You're not going to find a traditional person today. We're all socialized to the times we live in. Thank you, Del Will. That's great. Hit that like button, y'all. And the likes are down.
Hey, real quick.
Dating or
Did you say real quick?
Oh, yeah, my bad. I just wanted to run a point because I heard a lot of things, right? And I think a lot of it is like misconceptions. Well, from the original topic we were talking about, there's a stark difference between going on the blade and seeing how women interact with you over there versus actually being in a country. It would be like, you go to Sunset Boulevard. Let's say you was in like, you know how it go. Like there's certain places that you can go and you can find a 304 is like, if that's what you're looking for. There's people who go for sex tourism and there are hot spots for that, right? But that doesn't represent the entire country and how women are of the country. The dudes who are going there for sex tourism are different than people who are going there for love. Have I interviewed some people who went there and found love and found women who they feel like are better? Absolutely, right? There is a difference. I gotta say there's a difference. So you might be sweating. The woman is sitting there wiping sweat off of you, like you eating. The woman's feeding you food. There's certain things that you just see that you don't generally see, right? And I think it's a mistake to get angry with women for them wanting you to be able to provide for them. That's a natural survival instinct. Most women are going to expect that. The problem is, what are you going to get in exchange for it? That's the big difference. A lot of men feel like they're getting more for what they are paying for, because that's just what it all comes down to. Men are expected to provide for any women, but what are you getting in exchange for? And there are dudes who may come down from over there. Like, let's say you over here and you like might be considered a 3. You can go down there and you will get attention that you've never gotten before. It's almost like, and when I was seeing it initially, I'm like, damn, it's like y'all going to pay for the minor leagues. But when you have the dudes who were striking out, they're legitimately trying, and they just don't have the swag or a lot of these things that, you know, are expected of them. They're looking for some way to do it. And you can't teach people how to be cool sometimes. Some people just will never be cool. But you don't have to be that cool there. People are more concerned about, okay, is he going to be a good father? Is he going to be able to provide for the family? How's his character? Does he have a stable personality, right? Is he shifty? Those are the types of things that people are more concerned about, right? It definitely is different, and the expectations are different. So I could understand it. We can't just like demonize the guys or say, oh yeah, corny, because some of these guys have tried everything, but some of them just never had the guidance growing up, and they're not going to get better at what it is that they do. They're not. They've accepted that, and they're desperately looking for somewhere else to go. So if they want to go ahead and do that because they're not getting the treatment that they feel they deserve over here, then who are we to say you're doing it wrong? Let them go ahead and do it. I'll leave it there for now.
Trev, have you noticed? Can I respond really quickly, Trev? Have you noticed that it's like women getting mad at men for liking beautiful women or for wanting a beautiful woman? Like, example, I've seen this in American culture more recently in the last 10 years or so. We have like all these like obese women on the Victoria's Secret Angel show. It has really gone downhill. I mean, I don't know how the stage could hold up all the weight, but we used to have angels with the wings. They were so beautiful models. And then it turned into these plump ladies. And nothing wrong with a plump lady, but this is the Victoria's Secret fashion show. We kind of want to see ladies that work hard to get a certain type of body. That's what we're looking for. We want to see that. And instead they're putting the mediocre girls on the Victoria's Secret line, and then getting mad at the men for saying, we don't want to see this. Oh, why? These are real women's bodies. No, they want to.
There's been societal pressure to be more inclusive.
That too. But I've seen it also in the dating sense, where if a man says he doesn't want to date a woman who's 300 pounds, then the women get upset. Why? She could be a great woman. She could do that. And it's the same thing with men saying that they are judging women for wanting to be with a man that can provide.
Yeah, no, you can't get mad at it. Like I said, my main thing is just, listen, if you're going to provide what I want, I'm going to provide what you want, right? Like, you can't get mad at somebody. You just find someone who likes you for what you already are, right? You can't say you want something. If you have somebody who wants you for your bread and you don't get bread like that, you're going to have a problem, right? If somebody wants you for your character, but you're not really like that, you're going to have a problem. The main thing is to find people who appreciate what it is that you already are and already have.
All right. Hit the like button, y'all. Let me go ahead and run this clip.
And dating or even considering, I think that a lot of times, you know, we do value women, but when you talk about Black relationships, I think we all come with some baggage. All right. Now, some of us have some baggage that's not going to fit in the overhead compartment, and some of us have some baggage that you're going to have to pay a whole lot more for to get on this flight.
Yeah.
Right. But the reality of it is that's just who we are. And I'm talking about historic. Like, if you're talking about being enslaved, where we were and how we engage each other, there's a lot of elements there. But it can be a little difficult because women have expectations in 2021 that they're watching, and they're very material expectations. I agree with you, Claudia, but I'm simply saying that
not all of them are material.
And I'm not trying to generalize.
It's just
women.
Most of the time it's pointing to American women are more material.
And it's America as a society.
Not better.
Let's bring spirit. Let's bring spirit into this.
And I gave you the space to even edit the better part, right? So, and I'm with you on that. But let's say this, because you guys both tie in two really important pieces, right? You talk about women who are not African American women, and you talk about the experience and what is the influence here. You mentioned social media, but what you're really missing here is the piece that you talk about, the enslavement part. The culture and the trauma that African American men and women and children have faced in this country is like unlike any other group. And so when we talk about trauma, what we know is that Black people have a lot of unprocessed trauma. We have a lot of hurt. We have a lot of harm, not just back then, but right now on the daily, right? And so one of the things that we talk about as professionals within my profession is we talk about how trauma impacts people. And so we love to say, Resma Menakem, one of my favorite colleagues, he says that trauma decontextualized within a person looks like personality. And that trauma decontextualized within a family looks like family traits. And that trauma decontextualized within a people looks like culture, right? And so when you talk about how African American women present and what they need as it relates to security and finances and the finer things in life, and to look a certain way and to want a certain thing from their man and to have certain expectations, it's because of the trauma that we are still trying to survive.
Go ahead, Miss Aisha. Look at Shannon's face expression.
I partially agree. I don't know how trauma from 400 years ago is the way that we are today, because I think that people are always evolving and changing depending on the times of the days that we live in. I think that our trauma is consistent to the things that we experience as Black women on a daily basis in our own individual experiences. I don't necessarily think we have to take it back to slavery. Like, my daughter is 7 years old, and a white little boy threw juice in her face and pulled her braids and said some really inappropriate things that my daughter has to now experience, and I have to explain to her at 7, right? So I don't think that these traumas are something that are in the past. I think that it's important for us to educate and continue to educate people on the way that they behave and the way that we perceive those things. But I think that Black women just have a way about us, and it is culturally, it's culture. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. Like, there is a huge difference in the way that I perceive information than the way a mirror perceives that information. And I think that that's wholly based on culture, and that could be a good thing and a bad thing. That's why I'd rather date a Black American man, because I feel like he has more understanding of that trauma. And me is, right? And so it's just easier for us to sustain those lasting relationships.
Okay, go ahead, Shan. Send your face expressions after that clip. What do you have to add as far
Okay,
as
so just to be clear, what did she say before? What was said before the slavery came in the picture? Because I was confused. Not you, but what was the conversation before slavery got in the picture?
She was breaking down that, like, so she used that you would look at a person and think that it's a personality, like that but that's really just I forget the word. Was it uncompromised? What was the word she used? Yeah, I just seen it in the chat.
Oh, so she was referring to the attitude that women bring.
So her point was that unprocessed trauma in an individual looked like a personality trait. In a family, it looked like a familial trait, like this just how that family is. In a culture, it looked like that's just cultural. She was kind of making a deep point, but you got to go like real deep to pull it together what she was saying. Because I took it to mean, like, if you like the stereotypical definition of how people how they view Black women is sassy, argumentative, and extra abrasive, right? Like, they're gonna check you, treat you, do all of that stuff, right? But the point that I took from what she was saying was that is a form of unhealed trauma that you're gonna lash out like that, and it'll look like that is just the personality traits of Black culture, but really it's unresolved trauma from having to deal with everything in America up until this point. And it's unlike any other people, because other people come here with the idea of America that we never had in regards to our experience. So people So the way people interact here is from a good faith thing. And so I use this example, right? You have an uncle that runs a company. He abused you in all ways and forms for 40 years, right? And you have extreme trauma from that abuse. And somebody comes into the company and he's now changed to try to act like a better person. And they interact with this uncle and they're like, why you don't like your uncle? He the best person ever. And the person that's been dealing with him that last 40 years, like, hell no, this motherfucker, this person is XYZ. And they're like, well, I just don't see it. It's just not a thing. And that person still has all of that baggage from the 40 years of everything you did still on their back. And it'll come out a way. So it'll be like, oh, that girl just snap off, or that guy just snap off at the uncle all the time, because that's his personality. When really it's him responding to everything that he's been dealing with that uncle for 40 years that the new person has no understanding of, because that's not been their experience. Rightfully, they just wouldn't have that experience. That's what I took from what she was saying.
All right, go ahead, Shan. Did you want to respond now?
Okay, because I had walked out and so I heard materialistic and then I heard slavery. I said, it ain't got nothing to do with slave. We just like things, okay? But when I just heard you say, Marcus, I'm gonna tap in on that. I get it now. You clarified what took place when I walked away. So I would say this. I think that it is the culture, but I'm gonna take slavery out of it because nobody, like, we're not living in slavery right now, right? I would say that it has been culturally accepted to behave this way. And it started in high school. You wanted the girl who popped off at it was like, it was cool to do that, right? You put people in their place, you egg that person on. I see it every day in my school. And the thing about it is, if you look at the entirety, if you look at everybody, most people are not popping off. We just focus on the loud people. If you go to a store, most people are behaving normal, but for whatever reason, we have this tendency to magnify the people who are not behaving normally, right? If you go into an airport and there are all types of diverse people, you focus in on that 1, 2, 3 people who are acting out. You're forgetting that there are thousands of people who are normal, right? And I think that what has happened, like I said before, at a younger age, we have a tendency to promote or accept things that are not right. And that behavior continues even into adulthood. Even when we choose our spouse, I've known guys that say, hey, not spouse, but girlfriends, especially in your 20s, you like the girl who's going to go to bat for you. You know what I'm saying? She going to pop off at the mouth. Like, oh, she got a little mouth for me, but like you like to put her in a spot. And it's not just us. I've seen Latino women who do that as well. You know, they like the little spicy chick who's going to put them in a place. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They like the little spicy chick who's going to put them in his place. But I think at some point it becomes a little nerve-wracking. It's like, okay, now I need you to calm that down, you know. But you liked it all this time, so now there's a pattern. Like you promoted it up until this point, and now you're trying to take it away. Like, okay, we don't like that no more. It's like a trend. It's cool one day, now it's not cool today.
All right, go ahead, Casey.
My thoughts are kind of all over the place with listening to the clip. I understand what Marcus is saying, but I think there's been an erosion within our culture of what should be accepted and what shouldn't be accepted. I think that's how we got here. With my friends and growing up, and even with our married friends now or people that we know, this whole sensationalized word of trauma constantly on YouTube. I know people go through things and have experiences in life that they may need therapy for, but to say that Black people are just always walking around so traumatized, I completely disagree with that. I think it's a cop-out to constantly be saying that. Our children in this generation were not raised correctly by their parents and their grandparents. It's not going all the way back to slavery, because when I grew up, the neighborhoods were safe. Okay. When I went to high school and when I was riding my bike around it was not, my parents weren't worried. It was no worry. So there's been an extreme erosion. I'm sure social media and other factors have played a part in that, but people aren't raising their children anymore. We always talk about women being raised to be wives, men being raised to be husbands. That's not happening, on top of the fact kids are being raised with no core values, no real moral compass. Life isn't valued within our community as a whole. And that didn't happen from when we got out of slavery. We valued our lives. We fought for our lives. We fought for other lives. So I'm tired of, I don't like to hear this downtrodden of a Black person, because I'm a Black person. I'm proud to be Black. I love my culture. I love how I grew up. I love my friends and family. We are strong. We're educated. We love Black men. We love Black women. And so I'm tired of hearing, and I don't know if it's a difference between like region, because I grew up in Louisiana and y'all don't have exposure to slavery more than me. I'm sure nobody on this panel was going to plantations for school trips in elementary school like I was. You were too, Shan. Okay, Georgia. All right, Aisha. So I've been exposed to the trauma of my history and my people my entire life. But somehow I've been able to have a positive outlook on my future, my community's future, but I'm also a realist. So we have to get to a point where we're understanding this. A lot of the stuff that we are going through right now is self-inflicted. It's not self-inflicted from our ancestors. A lot of this stuff has to deal with molestation within generations, generational curses, abuse within the families, those type of things that, yeah, they may have been started generations and generations ago, but at what point are we going to break that chain and break that cycle and be better and take responsibility and ownership? I definitely understand the therapist and what she's saying as far as people make excuses for things and how they can look like a personality trait or a family condition. And people may, oh, that's just how she is, or that's just how that family is. Well, that's BS. Because at some point, that family, that individual person needs to be told, okay, I understand what you went through or what may be in your bloodline, but you have to break that cycle, and you have to take responsibility for how you are showing up as a person in this world. You have to take responsibility for that. But I have more to say, but I'll land my plane there.
I agree with you on you gotta take personal responsibility first, but I vehemently disagree with you on the foundational root causes. When you could draw clear timelines in history in our interaction with the dominant society throughout each generation, right? So there was like post-slavery, post-slavery, the family unit was more intact. But that trauma that we talking about, it was fresh out. They just got out of slavery. They raised those kids.
How do we get to the Cosby era and the different world era and the boomerang era, where Black people in the late 80s and early 90s were completely thriving and winning in this country? How do we go from slavery to Jim Crow, civil rights, all of this stuff, to then we're thriving families, communities, even after all the bombings and destroying of our own personal towns and all of this stuff? We've kept overcoming as well as maintain community, even through all of that real trauma. What we're going through now within our communities is self-inflicted. It's not we're not Jim Crow. We're not, oh, you can't walk in that and drink from that water cup. We're not going through that. We double talk a lot of times within our community. Black men make so much money and Black people are winning and Black women are bosses and all of this stuff. It's like we can say that on that point, but then when it comes to family and community, we're so downtrodden. We're so beaten down. We're so weakened by the white man and our trauma from slavery. We can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. And we do that on YouTube. It doesn't make sense.
So my explanation for that would be, so like for youth resistance, right? like your parents were intact, and then you're not a byproduct of a drug era. Like your parents didn't fall victim, so that would be self-assisted.
My parents didn't, but their siblings did.
Now, did they kids turn out differently than your parents' kids? I don't know they siblings. I just know your brothers and sisters, your brothers.
I have 3 cousins right now whose father was on drugs from the army his entire life, and all 3 of them are married with children.
That's good. I know a lot of people who did not have that same story, who came from that type of trauma through the drug epidemic, who kids who raised themselves who end up dying early, like real early, or going to jail for a long time. And like my life is kind of unique in that way, where I like lived in the suburbs for a little while when I was young, and I stayed in the city. So I got the whole gambit of those friends, and I'm looking at the different circumstances. And the kids who was wards of the state, raised in foster care, parents was addicted to drugs. Their mom was buying rocks from one of the guys that was out there working, or stealing a pack. And now they got a whole different trajectory than the kids that was not affected by that. Those kids that was affected by it have kids, and those are the kids that everybody calling YNs. Like I see the trajectory from the beginning into those people, and the beginning into the people that broke off and wasn't affected by that portion of it, and how that looks. It manifests itself as classism at this point, but it's not actually classism. And from what I've observed, it's a direct, like I seen a study a long time ago that said if a man, like you can have a good family history, right? And if a man went to jail, the patriarch of the family went to jail, let's say in the 70s, right? That completely changed the trajectory of that familial timeline and of that family, based off them no longer having the income resources.
I agree with you with that.
So the drug epidemic, which was self-assisted, right? We also got trades removed from school, so people did not have the same jobs. Education price skyrocketed, and there was a war against detailed war against Black America by the CIA. And what's his name? It slipped my name right now. Maybe somebody in the chat knows the name. For who was the director who instituted that, when they instituted the war on drugs, which was really a war on Black America, because they infused the drugs, which is why I say self-assisted, because we didn't have to sell them, we didn't have to take it, but we also didn't. We coming off of fighting this fight. The leaders was killed at this point. The people that were in those movements had extreme depression, and then they turned to drugs. And those political movements transferred from political action within the community to drug organizations at the tail end. Like the inception of most of the gangs was like Black civil rights progressive movements, and then they transitioned over time into gangs and drugs and what we see today. And
bro, you're talking about a drug epidemic. She didn't bring the drug. She was talking about slavery. So y'all talking about
what I'm saying is these. So slavery leads into Jim Crow. Jim Crow leads into the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement leads into the drug epidemic. It's been a constant battle. It's like a Cold War kind of that's been going on. Right now, it's self-inflicted and it's self-replicating. And at this point, it's us doing these things independent of other people. What I'm saying is I can see the line up until this point, how it all got here, and how the people who didn't get affected by it navigated out of it by whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So how do you fix it, Marcus? Go ahead, Trey.
I was just going to ask you, do you believe in transgenerational trauma?
Yeah, I believe in that.
All right. I mean, I think that's kind of where he's going with it. And even with
that,
right?
I understand what he's saying.
Can I say something?
I got you, Shannon. Just 1 second. I believe that it's definitely been a much harder road, and there have been people absolutely against us, specifically, right? But at the same time, there's people dealing with a lot of things everywhere, right? There's people who have bombs going off in their backyard on a regular basis, right? There's a lot. There's so much different trauma and different things that are happening. And the fact is that some people are making it. And the other fact is no one's going to help us, right? No one is going to help us, and no one else give a fuck about us. That's the problem. So with that, we have to say, all right, What can we do for me and mine and as much people as I can, affect? What can we do to get better? We understand
That's
what it
my
is.
exact point. That's my
What
exact
can we do to
point.
get better? Because we know we're here and we know they ain't gonna help us. So what are we gonna do to try to elevate ourselves? That's the main thing. That's the main thing that we got to worry about. How do we elevate ourselves?
I hold on. Before I go to,
Can I just throw this one side note in, JR?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
real quick. So the chemical warfare aspect of using drugs as a means of destruction of a community, that part is not unique to us. It initially was done to the Asians with the opium wars, where they went over and made them accept the drugs there, and then they broke them down through that, and they had a fight to get back to their normal. Then they did the same thing with alcohol and drugs with the people that stayed on the reservation. And they're in that same. So this is the last portion of what we got to self-replicating, because with the drugs, you keep yourself in that cycle. It's not necessarily a person putting their foot on your neck. The addiction has you at that point.
Okay. Thank you for that, Marcus. I'm gonna play some more of this clip.
Wait, Shan was trying to talk, Lapeef.
I know.
I know.
I'm gonna go to it right after the clip, and then I do want to get Sweeney and Darwin in as well. I want to make sure we kind of shorten up our answers at least to like 1 minute and 50 seconds. In that way, we can keep the conversation flowing, so people don't just get stagnant and zone out just listening. So let's make sure we can try to keep it small, only because we got a large panel. I want to make sure we keep everybody involved.
We talk about feeling beautiful and the BBLs and the Birkin bags and the wanting the nice things and wanting their men to come with a certain level of care and a certain level of treatment and expectation. We are trying to connect. We are trying to heal with you. We are trying to build with you. But there's so much hurt and trauma that we all have that we don't talk about, that we don't even understand within ourselves, so that we can't find who we're compatible with. Because who we're compatible with is traumatized versions of ourselves.
Spirit, do you think that women and men, women that seek the materialistic things, items, the tangible things, and men that just seek the women for the aesthetics, do you think those are people that kind of just gave up on love and they're just like going for, all right, well, at least I can see this, I can grab onto this?
No, I think it's science. If you really want to know, we are part of the animal kingdom like anything else. And so what the male species chooses is the thing that's biologically beautiful, because what it suggests from a DNA perspective is you're likely to bear my offspring and they will do well. It's survival of the fittest. And what the female species chooses is the male offspring that can provide the most security, because you're going to be able to protect me and our offspring and raise us, and we will do well.
So we're not gold diggers, it's just science.
It's literally biology. It is literally biology.
We have our own different.
Listen, when you see the brothers out there with the rims and the flash and the money and the gold, they're no different than the male peacock that's showing his whole big pretty feathers. Look at me, look at me. And when you see the women that go, show me what you got, show me what you're working with, it's no different than the frog that ribbits the loudest, or the bird that chirps the loudest.
So what do you call a man that's just been providing, that doesn't ask for nothing? What do you call the guys like me who we don't ask for anything?
Oh, but you do.
How?
You may not ask it with your words, but your expectation is there. So when you say, I need that woman that loves me, I need that woman that has my back, so I don't have to say, hey, is that bacon and eggs there? Hey,
Okay,
are those clothes in the drawer?
Not cash-wise. Okay.
So when we talk about compatibility, right, one of the things that I love to say, an acronym that I use is rises, that some relationships rise, some fall. You want one that rises. Rises stands for the different types of intimacy that make us compatible.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Shan, Sweeney, and Darrell.
You can let somebody else go on this one, but my point would be so irrelevant. I don't even want to take it back. So I want us to stick to this one. but I'll go back around.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Darrell.
Mine's is kind of the same. I had a point for the last round that we didn't get to talk, and it kind of, I had a conversation with this woman before. I think we spoke on Harley Initiated when we were talking to what's that lady that light-skinned lady that we talked about that had allegedly her husband messed with her kids or something like that. I forgot what her name was, the trophy wife. So she's a really good therapist. I mean, I can't really argue with none of the stuff she was saying. All I can say is communicate your illness. You got something fucked up about you, bring it up to the person. They might just help you process it. I think the problem is people don't have any faith or confidence in the person they're dealing with to be able to walk them through or even guide them through their traumas. So if you really gonna rely on this person as your committed partner or spouse in the future, the least you can do is just tell them what the hell is going on in your head so they can maybe help you. And if you don't even think they can help you with that, I don't even know why you laying around with them. That shit don't even make no damn sense. And all this blame about slavery and shit, I mean, I can't resonate with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm same 24 hours as everybody else, and I've been through the same struggles. If you can't figure this shit out, man, you might as well go ahead and lay it down. The world ain't for you. Go ahead and die off. Because you got all the resources to be able to make it. Ain't nobody gonna hold your hand through it, most definitely, if that's what you think it is. It's so many people that's probably around you that still made it. I do know black people like the gatekeep shit and try to charge you for the way out. But you just gonna have to come, you're gonna have to ante up. That's just the game. But if you can't figure this shit out, man, 2025, and they done gave you AI too, so you can talk to that motherfucker and they can walk you through the shit like that. Ain't no excuse now, man. If you can't figure it out now, just go ahead and lay it down. Fuck it.
All right, you got your hand up, Shan?
Yeah, because Darren kind of brought it back around. I think that people don't. So I do I go back into history because I used to teach history, and I think that people think that everybody was like the Martin Luther Kings, right? And I think I've even shown you these videos, JR. I don't know if I sent them to you or not, but every household was not like Martin Luther King. Matter of fact, I can show you an entire video where there were Black people in the 60s that didn't want other Black people to move to California because they felt like they were going to mess everything up. And this is a legit video of the 60s. We just didn't show those people. They weren't the face of Black at the time, right? And so what happens is these people continue to have kids. And so this is their family. You're thinking about your family because maybe your family was on the opposite side, right? You grew up with two, even if a cousin was on drugs, they still had a foundation. You said he went to war, but his foundation was already there. There was something, an environmental thing that happened to him that caused him to go get drugs, have drugs, but he had a foundation before he went to drugs. But there are people, this is how it trickled. Like it was a trickle. Like I lived in the project all of my life. This is what we do, right? It's our way of life. Granddaddy did it. Papa did it. Everybody did it. And it trickled on down. Even when it came to slavery, we didn't all have the same thoughts. There were people who were more, felt like education was a thing. There were more WEBs, more Booker T's, we were never on the same page all through. So what I'm saying is some people, slavery effect, they were not able to bounce back as fast as other people, right? It just depends on which household you were raised in, which environment you were raised in. The Cosbys was not everybody's life. You may be familiar with Cosby because it was more so of your life and how you guys were living. But there are people who was like, that shit ain't real. That's fake. And they couldn't see it being real at all. So I think that when you look at media, especially, that's what they threw in front of us. They emphasized those things, but that wasn't everybody's reality. Because just like we had the Cosby, we also had, what's that movie, the TV show South Central, wasn't it like South Central or something? So it was very opposite ways of living. It just so happened that we were raised, the Cosby Show was realistic, right?
Shannon, it sounds like what you pointing to is people who was family. That you're saying that these people saying, oh, that's not realistic. So it all point back to how to navigate all of these issues that we've been talking about, like racism, all that shit. It all points back to being a family union. So someone can make the case that a strong family union is better equipped and better prepared to deal with any obstacles, racism, whatever the hell it is. And that also goes back to the initial issue that we keep running into. Family. Like that shit is an afterthought after so many years of going through life. So you're going to probably be ill prepared in your earlier years if you're not prioritizing family coming out from the jump. So all this shit ties back into the original problem that, like you said, coming from the damn household, Everybody's separated on standard. Everybody's separated, and people ain't even together no more. Like, how the hell we supposed to deal with shit together when we ain't together?
We're not.
Then we call ourselves. We say they not like us. Hell, we ain't like us. Like, what is us? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that? Like, where's that at? So, like,
All right. I'm gonna go to that. Oh, we can't hear you.
Your hair is cute though. That's how men want us. Look cute on mute.
We still can't hear you. Struggle trainer. All right. Amir, you got anything you want to add at all?
I don't think you guys want to hear me. I think the panel might not like me very much.
I think that if it comes from a genuine place, like if you know the history.
Oh, it's definitely genuine. It's definitely genuine.
Right. But knowledge
I would never troll.
Genuine.
I would never troll you, and I would never say something just to make people offended. Although people think I do say that, it's not true. I don't say things just to offend people on purpose.
Oh, sure.
But I was invited
I think you program us to look for it when you premise it. I don't think they want to hear what I'm gonna say. And everybody's like,
I'm scared because I'm scared. McPherson,
no, speak your mind.
Everybody's like, when you get ready to say, when you say that, everybody get like, you know what I'm saying?
I know. You're right.
Just let it out. You know what I mean?
I'm just scared. I'm scared because as soon as because I know what I'm gonna get is you're not black. You can't say that. But I'm here, and as an outsider looking in, I preface it with that. As an outsider looking in, I understand I'm not in but JR has exposed me to a lot. Like, since me and JR have known each other, he has shared with me so much Black culture. He shared with me Jefferson show, Cosby, and R. Kelly, and what else did you give me, JR? You gave me a few things, but he gave me some things. So I wouldn't be so ignorant.
What R. Kelly y'all watch?
Yeah, you R. Kelly out of all the niggas you could.
But he sent me things so I wouldn't be so ignorant. He's like, don't be so ignorant. So but JR has helped me a lot. And anyway, so what I wanted to say was, me with my relationship with you fine people, and then hearing what other cultures say, because I'll tell you guys what other cultures say, and I'll be honest with you, because who's going to stop me right now from saying it? I'll be honest with you guys. The majority of other cultures that I talk to say that the black peoples are just weak, whiny, lazy, criminal mind. As for the women are concerned, loose, easy, and that's just what a lot of them say. But the reason that they say that is because what they see is something that they don't know the history of the Black community. Of course, they don't know the history. So they see it as people coming here and just seeing, oh, you guys have been here for many generations and you still haven't made something more of yourselves. When we come here and in 2 generations, we dominate you guys. Then we're the ones who are like your bosses. But I understand why. I do understand why. And I understand that because a lot of immigrant families, when they come, it's easier for them to get certain loans and so on and so forth. So I do understand that. I understand that there's history behind that as well. But what I'm saying is, after JR had showed me all the history and showed me a lot of the shows and so on, and then I studied for myself the history, I saw that Black people were so strong and so they made it. Out of slavery, they rose from the ashes and they did so much. And then you see what we have today. And what we have today is nothing compared to what I saw in the past generations of Black people. I think that's what Casey is talking about. And that's why when she was talking, I was nodding along, but I don't know if I should. But coming from my perspective as an outsider, when we see that Black people constantly today, not even back then, but today constantly say slavery, 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 and then they look for the roots to go all the way back to slavery, it's almost as if I want to ask you guys, what other community uses trauma that happened to their community from way back when. I mean, we have cultures today that have had traumatic events happen to them way more, what is it called? Closer and closer to the present than slavery. Slavery 400 years ago. Here we have, or is it 400 years ago? How long was it? No, that was 200 years ago. And then it lasted 400 years, right? Lasted 400 years, stopped 200 years, about 200 years ago, or 100 something. But yeah. So when you see that, we see the Jewish people, of course, they have their thing that happened to them. Then you see the Slavic people who the word slave comes from Slavic people, and you don't see them saying like we have this history of slavery, even though the word slave comes from the Slavic people, but you don't see them today saying that their culture has this slavery ingrained genetic code because they were slaves in the past. You don't see the Romans saying the same thing. You don't see any other group of people saying that except Black people. So this is the reason why we see it as weakness, but it could be ignorance as well.
Amir, the problem is that's false. There's several places in this world where there's conflicts that's been going on for hundreds of years that they ain't letting up on. The difference is that our conflict is often overlooked. We still have a conflict with this country. Just because it's not as violent as you see what happens in the Middle East or you see what happens in other countries doesn't mean that we should be able to, that we shouldn't speak on it.
Then leave. I mean, if the conflict is so bad, then leave. You can go to Liberia. Liberia is the same thing.
That's the thing, though. That same argument can be made about any conflict overseas. Why don't you just leave it?
No.
And they don't. Hold on, wait. They don't leave. They fight for whatever they created. They fight for whatever they built. They fight for whatever they feel they are owed. They don't sit there and try to run away. And the thing is that I find it extremely disrespectful when people run from the conflicts in their country and then they run over here and then look at us while we're dealing with the conflicts in our country. Let's not speak to, they see us dealing with the conflicts in our country, then say, oh, what is wrong with y'all?
I don't see it as really dealing with it. I see it more like whining, complaining, victimizing. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm saying what I see.
Let me say something real fast. Okay, so slavery, so it's one of two things, because I kind of agree with what you're saying a little bit. So slavery, for one, yes, happened 400 years ago, but Jim Crow happened just a few years ago. So it wasn't just over with slavery. It did continue. It just wasn't called slavery. Okay, so let's just make that very clear. But I get what you're saying. We have to take some responsibility for the way the world looks at us, okay? Because one, we call ourselves hoes. We act like it. We're on TV. We have our cameras out acting like hoes sometimes, okay? The things that we say is some hoish stuff that comes out of our mouths at times. When everything that she's saying, how they look at us is because we've done it to ourselves. Listen to our music. That's us talking about us. You understand? That's not another race talking about us. That's us saying it. And then we get mad when they see us that way when we're saying it about us.
How long has that been? I got a serious question.
So what I'm saying to you, and I'm not, let me just say this. I'm not taking away what you're saying, Sweeney, because I think that you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, how do we expect them to be serious about us when we're not serious about us? Right? How do you expect us to move mountains and do all the great things that we are made to do when if people just looking at us as hoes and lazy because we're putting that out about ourselves? So
now, I think the funny thing is that one, Black people have a wide variety of music in this country. We've been the birth child of a lot of different stuff, a lot of different music, and they were saying the same shit then anyway. Regardless of because how do you come over here and you don't look at a group of people and see their whole selves? You say, oh, well, all I saw was this.
So you have to remember.
Hold on, wait.
Okay.
Wait. Sorry. But if we said the same thing about them, they would say, why don't you get to know our culture first? Why don't you get to know? Why don't you reach back and learn about us first before you say anything about us?
Can you explain? Are you speaking to me?
No. I'm speaking about in general. When we have these, I've had conversations where I've seen conversations happen where where Americans, specifically Black Americans, will speak about other cultures and the problems that they have in their culture, and the first thing they say, or how we feel about them in this country, and they say, hey, look, you need to do a deeper dive into our people before you make those type of comments. So it would behoove me that before anybody comes over here and makes any conversation about who we are as a people, you got to at least know us. Now, granted, you don't have to, but if you're going to judge us, you better at least know us, because then I don't hold on, wait. I don't like when people throw stones.
You gotta let me speak too.
I know. I don't like when people throw stones and then hide their hands.
I'm not hiding anything.
I'm not saying you, Amira.
You're talking to me indirectly. It seems
I'm
like
not even talking to you directly. I'm not talking to you indirectly. If I felt a way about you, I would say that. It's not about you.
She's just saying, he's just
Because
saying
you
people who
I'm
think
just saying in
Yeah,
general.
you said people who say something, but my opinion was asked because I'm here. So I expressed my opinion and I gave you what people will say, and I said I don't agree with that. But you notice the moment that I say something that you disagree with, you're telling me you have no right to say anything. Because you disagree. But if I say something you agree with,
hold on, one at a time, y'all. One at a time. One at a time. One at a
Take yourself out of it. I'm not talking to you.
I don't think he's talking to you, Amira, but we appreciate you being honest about it, because I think that's what they are thinking, and I'm glad that you're on this panel telling us what people are thinking. Don't sugarcoat it. Let us know what they're thinking so we can have a conversation about it, because this stuff needs to change. We have to be solution based. I see it too. I say stuff about us too, because I see it. I call people floozies all the time. I'm like, why y'all acting like this? You know, I know better because I know Black people. I know my family doesn't roll like that. I know all the people I'm with don't roll like that. But I can get why, if I'm in another country, I've never met an African American before in my life. All I have is music, which is a universal language. And you're sitting here calling yourself a hoe. You're sitting here calling yourself a bitch. You're sitting here calling yourself whatever it is. What else am I going to say? You're saying it about yourself. I'm going to think what you think about yourself. I mean,
it's the commercial image that's projected to the world. It's our commercial image.
Yeah,
Right.
I was just going to say that.
Whether it's a caricature or not, it's a commercial image that's projected to the world. It's not all of us. We know it's not all of us, but it's what's projected to the entire world. Period. Go ahead, Di.
Thank you. What she just said is the main point. I just want to kind of touch on what Amira said, but then just go back to the main point. When I talk to white people, when I was in Michigan, I was in the facility, and 80% of the people there was from different places of the United States. When I actually talk to white people who have not met Black people, when they sat down and had at least like an hour conversation with me, 2 hours, they're like, dang, I didn't know this about Black people because of our commercial image. When you think about commercial image, what do Black people really control or own that can control that commercial image? If you go into our communities, you're not going to see often where girls are going to be like, I'm a hoe and I'm a bitch. Blah, blah, blah. These little girls like, that ain't me. Woo. Like, that's what it is. Unfortunately, because we don't own the record labels, we don't own the main media, we don't own the worldwide media that's portrayed to y'all will have that image. But then again, like I said, that's just commercial. I understand where y'all both coming from, and I understand where Amira is coming from. I think that we have to stop trying to make people relate to our trauma and just do something about it. Let people say what they're going to say. Let people see how they're going to see it. She will never be able to understand and see what we see. She doesn't know the history. They're currently deleting slavery out of the history books in Florida. So they're going to be like, yeah, it stopped over 18, in 18 something. But when you really look at the details of it, slavery, some people were still enslaved in 1963 because their slave owners did not tell them, hey, you're free now. I met a guy in Chicago who told me he would never go back to Mississippi because he had to flee the cotton fields. So when you think about it in that sense, 1963, and we're only in 2025, there's probably more Black households affected than what you know, especially because they're hiding that history. But overall, I think that it's a gap in between the Black people who are educated and know better And then the Black people who don't, and the ones that we're talking about right now on this podcast that we know needs help. And a lot of them, because I feel like I'm in the middle, I feel like I'm kind of with them because of my financial situation, but my mental is growing to the point where I can understand where everyone else is coming from too. I've never always been this person. Something traumatic happened to me, and now I got to work my way back up, and I ended up being surrounded by a whole bunch of people. But I noticed as I was gaining friends and close friends in those traumatic spaces, when we realized that we really wanted to be friends, we really loved each other, even the men I dated, we eventually, in growing up, had to learn not to take things personal. Like they were trying to say, back to the main point of the video, he was saying that we come with some baggage because of our history. And not all Black people do. Some of us were able, some of our parents figured it out before they got to us. But some of us are honestly responsible for breaking those generational curses. Okay, but some of us are honestly responsible for that. And I think that when we're interacting with somebody who's dealing with those traumatic responses and dealing with stuff that we say is cultural, but we know is toxic and it's really hurting us, I stopped taking it personal. So when they was like, well, I don't want to hear you right now. Okay, that's fine. But I know you'll be back because I got something you need to hear. You know what I'm saying? Even when, even for instance, when me and Casey was in the back, she had ended up telling, we was talking. She was like, I'm going to talk to you. I understand why other people might see it different, but I have something on my heart that I need to say, and I'm going to get it off. Little did I know, well, you don't know, Casey, I didn't tell you, but a couple weeks later, that the advice she gave me helped my relationship. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said we can't give up on our people. We can't take what we're doing personal, because even though a lot of men were taught to take what I did personal, Casey's a woman. She's not going to she's not going to take it as personal as them, but she can understand their frustration because she has a background in men. But she didn't give up on me. She didn't just okay, F you, and you just difficult, and you just don't want to listen, and even though that's how I came off, but she still said, I'm going to still say what I say because she's a leader in our community. She said she helped our sororities. So I'm going to just end it with this. I think we need to stop taking things so personal, especially if you know you're the bigger person, if you know you're the most educated out of your friends group, if you know that you're the one that everybody goes to. You have to learn how to give things to God, because yes, it could become overwhelming, but if you give their situation to God, that energy won't sit on your heart so often. So then you'll be able to keep doing God's work that you have planned. And I think that we have to stop judging each other as harshly as we do. And when I say harshly, it's like there's no empathy. And I do think that's an effect from slavery too, because they never had empathy when they had to get us in check. And because that's the way that our grandparents were taught to keep us in check, we kind of brought that into 2025 when I hear some of the educated people talk about the people who are not where we're at and the people that we're trying to help us to get where they're at. It's like a big disconnection there.
Danielle needs to go. Go ahead.
Hey y'all. So I personally am of the sentiment that people outside of our culture should, if they have questions about it, they should look on Google. I think with Black women being the most educated group in America, it is not our job to teach people who say, "Hey, I've done the research and I know certain things," and then ask simple questions like, why don't you leave? As if this isn't our land, our grandparents didn't contribute to it, and the reason America has its wealth is because of us, so we don't have to leave anywhere. I think also when there's this stigma or this beautiful stereotype about non-Black people who are not native to our land, talking about how they come in 1 or 2 generations, using government money to get to that place. There's this hardworking trope that's not true. You get access to government grants, government loans, and you get incentivized to be in the space you are. It's similar to white people operating and dominating the affirmative action, DEI, welfare space. And I think it's real audacious for white people to speak in such a way, especially when they're not from America, because there's so many issues going on in your home country that you left for whatever reason and came over here. And even if you didn't know anything about slavery, even if you didn't know anything about Jim Crow, you know that you've been here for 1 or 2 generations and you have access to things that people have been here for 5, 6, 7, 8 generations. So if you don't know anything else, you know your lived experience, and that's more than enough to know that there's a system set up against one person and there's a system who helps another person. So I think it's just real. I think us culturally, when I say black, I'm not talking about skin color, I'm talking about race. Culturally, it is okay to gatekeep. It is okay to keep people outside who have simple minds. Also, I think we start to treat ourselves with the slavery mentality as if we are a monolith. White people have trailer trash and they have people who live in Beverly Hills. They have Southern people, they have people who live in the country, they have hills, have eyes people. I think we are all just different. We, even if like with Beyonce and Texas culture, I don't know nothing about it as a black person who live in Chicago who also lived in the South, so I'm gonna be quiet. Just because we black, we still different regionally. And I think when they treat us like a monolith and we behave as such, we will have outliers in our culture and in our society like every other culture does. We are gonna speak different like every other culture does. And I think white assimilation doesn't make us better as black people. Access to their wealth that they created and enslaved people on doesn't make us better black people because of that fact. Adopting into the education system doesn't make us better black people. It just means we took a different route. And I think we should stop even, we just, we got to stop treating ourselves like this. We not the
You
same,
said
and that's okay.
you said that people come over here and they get access to like the government things or grants and stuff.
Personally, I have.
Don't we get that too?
Okay, so it also, I wanted to point out, like, I really don't like when people in my culture do systematic white men's work. We don't need you punching down on our people. The whole system does it enough. Now, holding our people accountable is different. Us having access to this much when, and we have to ask for it, borderline scheme and scam for it, even though we should have adopted that right just by inherently being descendants of people they forced over here. And me
Can you
having
give me an
access,
example of that?
example of like somebody who's a college student who just a girl who just got out of college who's working a job maybe over the poverty line trying to get help with food is not going to get as much help in our culture as a black person trying to pay for food even though they did things the right way as somebody who especially from the Middle East. America definitely helps out people in the Middle East and in Asia, and they incentivize them. They don't have access to, because they give them,
How is she able to afford college, but then she can't feed herself?
because you could get I'm not even going to respond to that, because again, I'm not going to have a conversation about, just because you got a podcast chair, you cannot talk about people who
I
need
just
help
asked a
feeding
simple
themselves.
question.
And I'm not, again, I don't respond really well to people
That's not
who,
a justified question.
it's
You
not a
said she went to
justified
college.
question. Someone, again, like I just said, if you are Asian and of Middle Eastern a descendant, and you come to America, they're going to incentivize your stay. You're going to get loans for your stay. You're going to be able. That's why there's Asian
I got
nail
it.
shops. Okay, so that's
So what do you get
different.
for being born here? What do you get for being born here? You saying you don't get shit for being born here?
You do not get someone saying, "Hey, y'all." I don't know if y'all see this, but you'll see like advertisement for Italy paying people $10,000 a month to come and buy a house there and start a family there, or incentivizing them starting a business. There's a reason there's Asian beauty supply stores, Asian nail shops in disassembled communities. There's a reason that the people who own the gas stations and the people who own the liquor stores are Middle Eastern in disassembled and disenfranchised communities. Those are reasons, because they're getting
So you
help.
saying the only way to own a liquor store or whatever
I'm
is
saying
they gotta
no.
get you gotta get
You
it from the
don't. You
government.
don't even have to clarify it. I'm telling you the reason that they are different from 5 to 7 generations versus 1.5 is because they're getting government help. They're not hardworking
I
people.
get
They're
it.
not working their
You
ass
said
off.
they're getting government help. My question initially was, aren't we getting government help too?
No, we don't get government help at the same rate where it incentivizes outside of systematic oppression. Government help, as in $300 a month for EBT versus hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a business and set your family up for
What
success and
about
buy a house.
$8,300 a month for the rest of your life?
What about it?
What's wrong? Isn't that better? Isn't that something? You go to the military and retire.
So you have to go and sign up to risk your life, whereas these people get a business to have they have their cousin in there, they son in there, they uncle in there, they brother in there. I gotta go risk my life for a country that
You
brought
risk
me.
your life. You risk your life anyways for anything
I
you do.
don't know how what you're saying is helpful to your culture
Oh,
and
what
your
I'm saying is,
community.
what you're doing is you want a specific government assistance. Where
I
you
don't
don't have
want
to have no.
any government assistance. I want people who are not in my culture talking about why don't you just leave, to not say that, because I don't have to leave nowhere that's my
Okay, I'll
country.
grant you that. I'll
That's what
grant you
I'm
that. I
saying.
think
I would
I
like to
also want
see.
people who I
I would
also
like to
want
see.
that's what I want. I also want people who say, "Oh, nobody's going to want to hear what I say," as in playing this trope of like, if nobody would don't want to hear what you say, then don't say it.
I would
Nobody
like
has
to
to
speak,
say, "Yeah."
please. Danielle, we've heard you. I know. Can I get in? Can I get in a little
I
bit,
think you've
please?
said enough, and I think
You've
you're
been
super
speaking for the last 12
audacious, but
minutes.
also do not come on here talking about things
Oh
you
my
don't
goodness.
know.
Go ahead, Danielle.
I
You
think
can
it's
continue.
funny
Go
to
ahead.
you, but it's passionate to me because this is my culture. So it's not a key moment. It might be for you, but it's not for everybody else who's involved in it. Do not call people in my culture lazy or tell them what people say. We watch TV, we go to work, we know what people say about us. So you saying it is not helpful.
We got another clip we're about to play in just a second.
Black
I'll
community
mute.
goes. I've had multiple people voice their opinions on us experiencing traumas within our own community and then allocating or intentionally utilizing those experiences while we're making decisions so forth in our lives. I've recently came across a video of a young woman expressing how when she was in high school, specifically high school, she rejected nerd men, black men that were perceived to be nerds, that wasn't gangster thugs, Tyrone, Ray, Pookie, all these terms we use. She emphasized how the older men that she showed interest in or gave all the attention to, they were preying upon her and other black women, and the men that they reject today are successful, and that they should give those women a chance and not hold it against them, because now that they're successful, these particular women now want to show them interest and get the same attention in return. They want the men to reciprocate the same attention. So simply get over what happened in high school. Stop utilizing your trauma if the black man or black men perceive that experience as trauma. Don't allow your trauma to put you in a position to where you don't make certain decisions because you are always considering those moments in life. So I ask, why should a man who is perceived to be a nerd, who's educated, who wants to do something for himself, show interest in a black woman who then does not reciprocate the same interests and goes and gives the other men, the older men per se, all the attention and the play, and in return they get the clout, the validation, because they're older men, they get money, probably he buy you something to eat, he let you ride around in his car, you feeling on top of the world. But when the older guy is done using you in a form of abusing you, you come back and you say to the man who showed interest, but now you see how successful he is because he was destined to do that, why does he have to forget what he went through with you? Or why should he not use that experience to allow him to judge each situation when it comes to other women in his life? Why does it have to be what you want? So in the moment you rejected him, it was what you wanted. Now you're not with those men who showed you all that attention, accountability. Now you want the man who you rejected to now just completely disregard what he went through with you and now give you an opportunity to come into his circle, come into his life, and you may not even cooperate with how he operates, but you're so focused on, once again, what you want. So it's all about you, self-centered. You don't have any accountability whatsoever. Why should this man, any man, but specifically the black man, push that all aside and disregard what he experienced when in fact it may be the best decision he can make to not have any involvement with you whatsoever? You made your bed, you have to go lay in it. Doesn't matter, you're a woman. These men weren't preying on you. You made a decision, accountability. You're lacking accountability. And
Man, all that dude was doing was he was lacking accountability too. He kept saying, "Oh, I hate when people say older guys. Why don't you just say established guys?" That's all it is. It's not an older. They're not going with him because he's fucking older and he's wrinkled. It's because he's established. But they don't want to say established because then it is self-convicting. So the reason why they want you after you get established is because you transformed yourself. If you would have had already been established, maybe you would have got the results you wanted. But these guys don't have the results, and they're competing with guys who have the results. That's the issue. So instead of saying that they're more established and they got their shit together, they say they're older guys. They ain't got shit to do with your age. It ain't got a damn thing to do with your age. These men are established. So it's a lack of accountability on your behalf too, brother.
Go ahead, Danielle, and I got to you.
Can we stop blaming our people for being the byproduct of the system? Like we know, and I'm not even going to use slavery because I feel like we get to dissect that just because it was a while ago. But Jim Crow was a while ago, but crack epidemic, crime bill, all of that stuff was very close, right? So us trying to figure it out after dealing with all of that stuff and then dating, knowing that we have to date, it's political, or we have to date for help or status. We're not even in a position to like heal or help ourselves. And Black men who say the trope of like, you ain't want me then, to avoid the fact that you didn't have anything, and like you was just a person who didn't have anything and she didn't want to be with somebody who didn't have nothing, and you gonna make it about Black men and Black women. Black women get to want and have standards and expectations. Without that single Black woman gets to have expectations in regards to dating you before you put it on every single Black woman in America. We get to have expectations. So it makes no sense when people ask for accountability, like on something that one person did.
And to your point, is a group of guys that are using younger women at that place that they claim they want to be with as disposable or for practice at that point. So
or for a bag on their hip, because you get to walk that young thing around.
And then you got guys like him who is actually interested in girls at that age. But it's just a huge confusion. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Y'all ladies, I don't understand how the hell y'all are not confused with what the fucking choose from. I mean, if some of y'all are confused, but I just don't see how y'all can navigate this shit, man. Like me looking at it from my side, no, I might not be able to see the things, but I'm telling you, bro, like the shit I've been hearing lately, bro, I don't understand how y'all are not fucking confused on the standard or the route or the roadmap.
So Darwin, what have you been hearing specifically that you would deem to be confusing?
Well, if you take the young brother like that, he wants the younger girl or the girl his age to speak to him. He wants the connection to run parallel. If he's a 23-year-old looking for a woman, he wants the 23-year-old woman to look for a man that age. But then you got a whole different genre of man that are also 23. They ain't even trying to fucking settle down with those women. So imagine that woman right there running into both of these different genres in the same dating market. You're like, damn, like what the fuck do y'all want? You get what I'm saying?
No, I got it. So when you do consultations, right?
Yeah.
So when you were advising a woman to I think you were saying that you advise them like in their early 20s to start to I guess capture a man, right? Or
no, I don't advise them in that early 20s. Typically when I do consultation, somebody has a specific problem that I try to solve or I try to help them process. They don't come into me say, okay, at what phase of my life should I try to? It never comes in like that. It always comes in as somebody has a specific issue, and I try to advise on how they can get through, process that issue, and get a solution.
Okay, so you would say that some women should probably wait until they're like 30.
I don't think nobody should wait on nothing. If you're ready, you're just ready. There's a such thing as being ready and going to get it now. I don't think we have the luxury of waiting because you're confused now. What makes you think you're not going to be confused later?
Got it.
It's like there's no method that strengthens the whole argument that waiting is a better option. Like motherfuckers are waiting and still fucking alone.
All right. Casey, what you got on this?
I hear what everybody's saying. I just think kind of lost my point listening to Bruce's last point, but
I apologize.
that's okay. That's
Just
okay.
piggyback.
How you feel about them nerds?
At
That's
least
what
we know
wanna
you
know.
listening.
How you feel about them nerds? That's what we want to know.
No, he was saying that how can you, as a young woman, and you have both men coming at you at the same time, one that's serious about choosing somebody, they're a life partner at that moment, and another guy may be coming with the same show of interest. But I do believe that there's ways women can tell. I think you know the difference between a man wanting to have fun and a man making plans for you in his life. Like we can't say that women are just stupid and don't know. I think women choose to play dumb because the one that's fun, the fun boy, is the one that's more interesting to them. And so what he's saying is the guy who's focused on his books that wants to make room for that woman in his life can sometimes get looked over. But at the same time, that's wrong for him for putting his eggs in a basket to a woman who doesn't see the long game in life. So his choosing and who he wants to show attention to is wrong as well, because that woman ultimately is not going to make a great life partner. She's not going to be wise. She's not going to be a good wife. And she's not having her head in the game and what's most important in life as well. So I understand what he's saying, but if you're going after a woman who doesn't see your value, who doesn't see you as a young man that has a plan for his future and also wants to start planning his life at a young age, if she doesn't see the value in that, then that's her loss. And you don't want to be focused on her, and you don't want to waste any time on her, because she's probably going to be the woman who's playing the rest of her life, cheating on you, not focused on you, right? And so why give that woman any attention? So I think it goes on both parts. But he does have a point. Some women are just blinded by what's fun in the moment, and they're not thinking about what should I be focused on. You want that provision? You see a man in mechanical engineering and he's focused and he's making straight A's and getting awards and everything like that. He comes from a good family. You the stupid one if you can't see where he's going in his trajectory for life. You dumb. Because you want to have fun right now. So,
but you don't believe that guys that got game so tight, so potent that they can really literally finesse you into thinking that, you know, they gonna be down with you, but they not really gonna be down with you. It's 2020.
Well, of course they have men who are focused and focused on money, but are not focused or not serious when it comes to a woman in their life. But like I said, you know when someone's making plans for you in their life. You know that. And it's not just hot air balloon. Oh, yeah, we're going to be together. Yeah. You haven't met nobody in the family. You haven't come home for no holidays. Y'all go out separately. Y'all basically have two different lives. Y'all go out on dates. Y'all spend a lot of time together. Everything's separate. Everybody's doing their own thing. There's ways you can tell. There's ways you can tell.
You can be introduced to the mother and the father and moving together. And that still don't solidify you.
Well, you shouldn't be moving in together, but that's
I'm just saying though, they can go all the way to their toes over the ledge, and it still don't mean that they're gonna be there for you ride or die.
Well, nothing in life, Darwin, is guaranteed. Nothing in life is guaranteed. You have to make the best. You have to make the best choice from what's in front of you and from what you've been trained to know, and also people, your family members, and people help vetting that person in your life. You can't do it by yourself.
I understand that. I'm
Let's get Shannon there real quick. She had her hand up.
Go ahead, Shannon.
So mine is going back to the guy and what he's saying. Because I see it from a high school perspective. You know, I see high schools I've been dealing with for 22 years. Bye, Amira. But what I see is people who want you, you don't want them back, right? So he can't sit here and say black women not checking for him. The ones that's checking for him, he not want it, right? And I agree with whoever just said, what we want may not necessarily be good for us at the time, right? Everybody want that baddie, but that baddie may be bad for you, right? She's not the person for you. Why you running up after her? So why are you gonna get rid of the whole race for two baddies that knocked you down in high school? It don't even be the same women. It's totally different women out there that you are punishing because of women that they don't even know who rejected you in high school. First of all, high schoolers are high schoolers. They do high school things which are not that smart all the time. Trust me, I know. And you're punishing people for something they did in high school, and you're a grown adult. It's crazy to me. Just say, and this is the part that irks me. I am open to people loving who loves them, right? But you cannot blame you loving somebody should not be because you mad at another group of people. You should just love them because you love them. It shouldn't be no because you did me wrong. I'm looking at them. That's like me saying, oh, I was an ugly duckling in high school and I got my beauty. Now I am that cute girl, but I'm only going to date white men because black men did not want me at that time. Like, what?
And people do it every day. People say that every day. You're right, Shan.
That's crazy to me because your husband could be right in front of you, whatever he is. He was not in high school with you. He did not do it. He met you at the perfect time. You guys came together at the perfect time. You're knocking your bless because you're like, you know what? Because he's black and black men, I'm going to thought all of them for, the way they treated me in high school, even though they didn't even know, those particular ones did not even know you. It is crazy to me. I'm just over this whole, the shenanigans I'm seeing on the internet. It's just so wild to me.
Sweeney, what you got? You sleep?
All right. No, I wasn't sleep. I was hearing everything. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We got you.
All right. So we've been on this live for what? 2 hours and 12 minutes, give or take. We've heard it all. We've heard passport bros. We've heard goddamn culture wars. We've heard dudes say that chick didn't like him in high school, and God damn it, man. Is it really that fucking bad for y'all? Listen, I'm not the greatest thing since sliced bread. I can be honest about that. I'm about as regular as they come. You know what I mean? Like, I probably had about as average an experience in life as any normal other person, right? And I can sit here and tell y'all that I was able to find somebody that I rock with, and she rocked with me, and made a couple kids together, and got the fuck on with life. Is it really? Take all the other shit out. Let's be honest here. Let's take all the other shit out. The generational curses and all of that, because I don't know how that makes us hate one another. How that creates an issue between black men and black women. I don't know how all I get. We got ourselves our own problems with people on the outside of us. But be honest, bro. Like, is it really that hard to find somebody? Because what exactly? All right, what do y'all want from us? What do you want us to tell y'all? There ain't no amount of game I can teach you. There ain't no amount of classes. There ain't no amount of any more of these podcasts that we can do where we talk about this shit ad nauseum. That's gonna make your life right to love somebody. You just got to make a choice. You just have to go out there and make a choice on somebody. And I know there's somebody out there that you rock with, that you kind of see right, and they kind of see you, and just because I'm telling you, I'm not. It can't work for me, and you telling me it doesn't work for y'all.
Sweeney, could I ask you this, or just anybody really? Like, I'm going to mention my word again, perspective. Do you understand that there are some people who just don't know how to have a conversation? right? Like you cut hair, so we know you a conversationalist. Period. That's you going to get into
I
conversations
don't
all
talk
the
that
time.
much cutting hair, bro. I'm about as
Shit.
quiet as
Well,
they. As a
well,
matter of
most
fact,
people do. Well, either way, you know how to talk to people. Well, let's say that, right? There's a lot of people who just are a bit introverted. There's a lot of people who don't know how to operate, right? There's a lot of people who have faced rejection, and it does cause trauma to some people.
no,
Some people handle it differently than
no,
others.
I get that there's a subset group of people that may experience difficulties. We're talking about a 70% single rate. 70%. That is not a bunch of people who don't know how to talk to people.
Well, we're talking specifically about the guys who might have been rejected and just
The guys that are complaining are not the ones who are introverted. The guys that are complaining are the motherfuckers who can articulate themselves very well. We see them all the time.
They're insecure, hurt, not healed.
It ain't a communication issue at all. These motherfuckers know how to communicate everything.
Do you think that they could be dealing with trauma that they just haven't healed from?
No.
Yeah, not healed.
That one girl, it just took one girl, and it was.
Jesus, man.
I guarantee if you
The
ask
fact
every
that he
person
looked
who
35
complains,
and he brought up a situation from 17 was a red flag. Like you couldn't use a more recent woman who has done that to you in your adulthood life to prove your point. Why did you go all the way back to high school?
That's why I'm saying a traumatic event. So let's just say this, right? Let's say
But he'll never
like
heal
let's say
because-
what you tell young ladies, right? You'll tell young ladies, oh, you kept messing with the bad dude. Maybe that guy wasn't good for you. That guy broke your heart. That guy didn't work for you. Maybe you should try something new. Do you think that it could be their version of saying, you know what, I'm going to try something new because these girls really didn't like me? And even if they might have got theirs, they probably still see themselves as that person and incompatible with the type of people who rejected them. You think that's a possibility?
It is, but who talks about that? Just do. I mean, I'm just trying to. It's
the
the
problem
talking
comes
about
way
it.
before that.
How old was old boy in that video?
He looked like he was in his 30s or
He look like
something.
he's still
All
hurt.
right.
He's on that
That dude, I'm gonna be real with you. That dude does not come from a generation that don't know how to talk. I'm sorry.
He spoke
When we talk about a generation that was raised on video game and being distant, that is Gen Z and below. If you in your 30s, bro, and I mean this is late Gen Z and below, you had to talk to people. In high school, you had friends. We all touched grass when we was in high school for the most part. Like you could anything 30 and above, you touch grass in high school.
Good balance, sweetie.
I guarantee you the dude in that video got way more play than I did in high school. I guarantee he probably did. And there is no way in hell you can sit here and tell me that 20 years later that you're holding on to some shit that happened to you in high school. High school?
It's all lies, bro. So you know what the problem is.
Y'all let Danielle go too. I know her arm hurts.
The problem is clear, bro. It's not even the.
I feel like the problem is that men that we are addressing is the obvious, that men find satisfaction in getting something that wouldn't typically do something to do it. So it's like they are trying to get a woman who materialistic to see them for who they are, or they'll try to get a woman who is independent to depend on them financially, or they'll try to get a woman who is anti 50-50 to contribute. It's like men are having a hard time exercising what compatibility is and how to find somebody who's compatible with them and wait for it, instead of treating women like a workshop or a project that if she comes this way, she works for you. Just find somebody who works for you and make that work out. Stop finding people you can't afford and asking them to be cheap. Stop finding people who sleep with a lot of people, or you get a stripper and want her wholesome. Find
I ain't gonna lie
somebody.
to you, I ain't never seen nobody ask for that. I'm just
That's all.
I don't think that is. I know it happened.
Oh yeah, hold on.
It's-
We about
you go
we
to
gotta
a
do a
strip
couple super
club.
chats. We gotta read some super chats.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
we
just
gonna get
feel
right back
like
into
men
it.
don't know how to be.
I got you. All right. The AP, the accountability partner. Goat cheese. What? What? Macaronis.
What the heck, man? Get your
Shooting
freaky
you,
ass on somewhere,
Lapeef
AP.
panels.
What is you doing, man?
Salute, y'all.
Get your freaky ass on.
I should have never said that.
Oh man.
Freaky
Dub one
ass.
with the 5. We got the Jeffersons, the Cosby Show, and R. Kelly as the representation of black culture is wild.
See, that's wild to some people. You understand what I'm saying? That's wild to some people.
We got Frenchie K757 members for 25 months. Shout to y'all. Shout to y'all. 25 months. Big deal, man. Appreciate you. Mviz Wiley with the 499. Black people do control our image. Stop giving away your power. Uh-oh, baller alert right here. Hold up.
Oh, he gonna follow up the freaky ass
Uh-oh.
post.
You gotta do the sound, Trev.
The
Do the
AP. Oh,
Danielle,
yeah,
this one for you.
Yeah.
Do the sound, the bomb sound.
Yeah, you get that for sure. All right, AP, the accountability partner. $100. Baller alert. Danielle with the fury of hearts. Sis, thank you. Call her on it. ... Sis, yes. And way more hearts. Shout for baller alert, man. All right, we got the AP accountant. Woo, again. A 50 dot, huh? Is that a 50 dot I'm looking at right there? All right. Salute to the panel. Great conversation. Danielle, I didn't agree with everything, but thank you for your words and accountability standards. Marcus, Trev, Sweeney, salute. And the sisters look great. Even die. Damn, okay. All right. AP, the accountability partner, again with the 20 bone. Hey, B from New York City with them fake California titties. I know you're waxed and vaxxed, but have you ever been smashed? Quit saying it's just us. There are lyrics from a country song. It's simply the perception we allow. Wow. Okay.
Oh, he's saying that was a country song lyrics.
Who's from New York City over here? Anyways.
I agree what he just said. It's something we allow because I see people in my neighborhood all the time. Oh, I'm gonna allow my daughter to do this TikTok. It's just a popular thing right now. I'm gonna let her listen to this music because it's just popular right now. They don't want their kids to be left out. They don't want their kids to be picked on. Let me tell you something. My daughter last year had to learn what it felt like to stand in your own skin, be your own person. She came home. They're picking on me. I don't get along. I don't fit in. I said, baby, guess what? Right now, you might not fit in, and that's cool. Keep yourself right now. This short period of time, it's going to be a little bit lonely. If you remain in who you are, you're going to attract people who was more like you. 5th grade, my daughter ain't dealing with none of the issues that a lot of these 5th graders are dealing with. But when I listen to the people around me and they're like, well, my kid dealing with this, and I tried to tell y'all. Which issue you're gonna have to pick an issue. You either gonna prepare them from this community, and by doing that, by letting them listen to certain music, telling them to go beat that bitch ass, having them curse people out instead of you going in and talking to the parent and handling it for your child, you're causing an issue to the community. You preparing them for a community instead of preparing them for the future. I'm not preparing my child for this. Like
we're gonna
have control.
We're gonna run another clip real quick.
I've also seen other people voice their expression on how black people should stop using trauma in the hood to then move forward in life and avoid other black people. No matter what, stick with your people. And I think these particular people were talking about being bullied. Now, I'm a black man. I grew up in the hood. What I would ask, specifically dealing with these two situations, why is bullying such an important factor in our community and we perceive it to be necessity or necessary for us to be tough? But when we go outside into society and we are amongst people that are not a part of the black community, specifically people of other races and ethnicities, specifically white people, because, black people and white people have history, why not express that same toughness, or why not showcase the results and the benefit of bullying, someone bullying or someone being bullied in that particular moment? we perceive it to be a necessity. So the bully should not have any issue with other people trying to bully them, because you are aware of what it means to bully and be bullied. Because in our minds, or based on these particular people, obviously we're not speaking for all black people, but it's a lot of people voicing this opinion. In our mind, bullying is a necessity to be tough, and the bully is some of the most tough people in our community, and the people being bullied are now experiencing how to control their emotions, how to be strong, how to be, relentless, resilient. Why is it not of benefit in society? Instead, we showcase victimhood and we cry and complain and we want somebody to come and save us. But we emphasize bullying and how you're soft. I always say this bullying stuff is not, you're not tough, because when life shows up, you run and hide as a coward. So is bullying a necessity, or you're just being bullied at home, which is another topic, another subject for another day, another conversation in itself. Accountability on yourself to not go out and express what you are dealing with at home, but maybe go get some help. You can always go and ask someone for help, or we consider it snitching. But if you are being abused, I think you should inform someone that you are experiencing abuse at your home, instead of going out to bully others. Why is it such a key factor? Why is it a part of our culture to bully and or be bullied? And then due to the trauma, we don't want people to make decisions based on trauma. We want them to just get over it. But based on that ideology, follow me here, why don't we get over certain things that we consider trauma? And yes, I'm going there, history with white folks, but we oftentimes express how we are still dealing with discrimination and racism and things from other races. But if it's trauma and we want our own people to get over trauma and not utilize these experiences, why don't we reciprocate? Or why are we being hypocrites and using these hypothetical situations and then trying to select? I believe Chris Rock referred to it as selective outrage. This particular situation would be selective bias. So it's only if you approve. It's only if it benefits you. No, I think bullying is not a necessity, because it doesn't benefit us at life in any way, shape, or form.
No periods, no understanding. He shouldn't be public speaking on any platform ever. When he said follow me, I was lost. I was like 5 blocks back, like lost. Like, y'all got it. Y'all can explain.
He wastes so much time with this trope of like, stop making everything black people do about white people. Unless you're pointing out why they're doing it. In a system where the system is winning and you know what the system is, like the exceptions to the rule still don't make the rule not exist. You know why we're doing this. So asking these vague, stupid ass questions about why is it this or that, being engineered to see the people that look like you as a problem, as a threat, being engineered to hate yourself, you're going to hate the people next to you. You're going to have a problem with the people next to you. At the same time, like W.E. Du Bois said, double consciousness. So you know how to exist around black people and how to exist around white people. And it's both still a problem. But black people could be mad at white people while at the same time trying to figure out their healing process, because those are two different issues. There's no clear-cut way where this goes into vague territory. You know why black people have a problem with white people, and you know why black people have a problem with black people. And you will have the right to have a problem with people in your culture. Like, stop holding black people to this standard that doesn't exist for anybody else. It's okay to have a problem with people in your culture and white people and the system. And that don't make you a bully.
So
I just
hold on, y'all.
think
Hold
that
on, y'all. Oh, go ahead. Aisha, go ahead. You got it.
I just think that you can't compare bullying to the system of white supremacy. Like I'm just trying to find that correlation. And I haven't been able to find it. Like, how do you compare somebody being bullied at school, clothes talked about, whatever, bullying, to the system of white supremacy and how in correlation that affects black people? I could not follow where he was going with any of this.
Um,
He
So,
couldn't follow it.
so
He couldn't either.
I'm gonna be
Hold on,
honest with
Sweeney. I'm gonna let Amir go real quick.
Thank you. I haven't spoken in a minute. I did want to speak. I did not understand the thing that that man was talking about. I understand that he was trying to conflate bullying with racism, but his point was so convoluted. It didn't make sense at the end. But what I did want to talk about, because I haven't spoken in a while, I'm glad that Danielle is still here. So before JR comes back, since she's still here, I wanted to say to the panel that that was a lot of wasted energy. I know a lot of people liked it because she's like saying basically the same things that I said, which I said that I understood that the loans are in place for immigrants and so on and so forth. Just like there's loans in place for Black people and diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and stuff like that. So I already understood that. So that's something that you wasted your energy basically saying to me. I already know. I was asked my opinion, and I gave a point of view of things that I know are constantly said. And if people would listen to me, they wouldn't get so offended. I said, this is what people are saying, but I told them that they don't know the history of Black people. So they say that because they don't know the history. But a lot of people just get so triggered, and that's the reason why I didn't even want to talk about this topic, because every time I talk about it, it always turns into you're not Black, oh, Lebanon. And I shouldn't have said to Sweeney, go, like, leave if you don't want to be here. But my point was, I would not stay in a place where I believe that I am destined to fail, or where I believe that I'm constantly being held back. I don't mean all Black peoples leave America. And that's another thing that's conflating, is because if I say something to Sweeney, which maybe it came off wrong, so I'm sorry, Sweeney, if it came off wrong. But if I say something to Sweeney, it turns into you're saying that to all Black people, leave. This is our land. I didn't say that either. So, I mean, all of the energy towards me is wasted. That's why I don't want you guys to do that to me, because I am not against you guys. I am the one who's telling you something that I see and that I hear. And sure, you may have heard it before, but I didn't. If I'm talking to you, it's because I want to be honest. So, I mean, if it's offensive or it's triggering, I'm sorry if it's triggering. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And as for the other guy, I don't know what he's talking about.
Can I respond, or y'all want to move on?
Go ahead. Just we'll try to keep it brief, but go ahead, Daniel.
Just
go ahead
real
and respond.
quick. It wasn't wasted energy because there's people on this panel and there's people in the comments. And I think you're like, first of all, real quick, DEI benefited white people more than Black people. So do not associate my people and my culture. We only received 3% of it, but less than 4%. So associating diversity and equity and inclusion to people who didn't receive it shows your miseducation.
You're missing the point, but okay, just go ahead.
There isn't one.
My point, but
there isn't one. Also, first of all, there isn't a point. Also, you saying that to Sweeney is like you saying it to me. Even though me and Sweeney disagree sometimes, he's still Black. He's still in my culture. So you talk.
I'm sorry for triggering you. That's not.
You can't gaslight me. I've been around white people my whole life, so that's not that passive aggressive stuff. Is
I'm not white.
What are you? What are you? What are you?
I'm Arab.
Arab from where? Arab from where?
The Middle East. What do you
mean? The Middle. Which part? Because Arab have.
I'm not
which
here
part?
to have a debate with
well,
you.
Well, my family is from the Middle East too. So which part? Because we look different.
I'm Lebanese.
Lebanese. Okay, but you are talking about a nationality, and I'm talking about a culture, as in Black people.
You have a lot of energy for me. It's honestly.
I have none. I was talking to the people on the panel. Moving forward, I'm always going to have passion. I'm not triggered and I'm not offended. I'm going to have passion in regards to my culture. So
nobody's offending your culture.
Moving forward, past all of that, last talking point is Black isn't DEI. Second, when I approached the conversation about Sweeney, it was because of that. And I don't think it's wasted energy because I'm talking to my people about situations with my people. So you can talk.
I can be here because I've been invited here.
Okay, well, it's okay. I've been invited places too, and I know when to be quiet if I don't know what I'm talking about.
But I'm here to talk, so I got invited to speak, not to be quiet.
Okay, so
moving forward. Moving
You can't
forward,
silence
I
me.
know
You're
how
not
to
gonna
exist in
silence me just because you
spaces.
don't like what I say.
No, I used an analogy, and I'll land my plane here. Like I said with Beyonce, to make it not so much about the fact that you're white. Beyonce's black and she's American, but she talks about Texas things, and I be quiet because I don't know about them. So it's okay to not know something and not add a conversation point if you don't know what you're talking about. That was my point.
I think so. I get it. So it's just so we get real sensitive when we hear things that are talk about our culture. You know, we're very what's the word? We don't
We're
like
passionate, just like Jewish people have
it.
the right to have an issue about the Holocaust, and every other culture has every other
But I
culture
think
has an issue. I'm going to have one about my culture too, and that should be respected, especially if you're in a space that has that culture dominated visually so you can see. So do not misrepresent me as a black woman of being
Why are you
offended
still
or
talking
I
to
triggered.
think
me? I'm
so.
not talking to you.
I think that so Danielle. I think that what because I get where you're coming from, but I think that she was just giving us an input on an insight. She was
Y'all
giving
never heard that before? We lazy. We
no
Hold
no no
on, hold
no.
on,
you
hold on,
never
real
heard
quick.
this
So I
before?
think
Hang
that
on,
I
hang
think
on,
Hold
hang
on.
on.
We
so
One
got
I
too
What
too
you
many
going
mics.
to
Too many
say?
mics. Too many mics. Too many
Hang
mics.
on
Too
one
many mics.
second. Go ahead and finish Shannon, and then let me just follow up with something.
so I think what was happening was she was just giving us an insight on what's said about us behind our backs. She's saying, okay, I'm gonna let y'all know what they talking about, what these people back here are saying. Not necessarily that I want to say it about you, but I'm just gonna tell you this what I heard people say when you're not around. So I'm gonna let you know they calling you, but so even if you feel like she's saying it or not, y'all gotta know they. So even let's just say, let's hypothetically speak and say you're saying okay, she's thinking that it's still what's being said behind, and she's telling you what people are saying. It may not be legit, right? It may not be factual. It's what they're saying. We can't control
Exactly.
what people are
It doesn't
saying
make it
behind.
factual.
It doesn't have to be factual. We know that people stereotype people all the time. That's just what
Exactly.
humans do, right? So we can't control. So the way they think about us, right?
And we can control that, and that's the point.
Who
The
cares though?
point
You're
is
an
to not
educator.
spread.
We
No,
know
no,
this.
no. So I care
The
because
point is
I'm a
to not
solution.
spread
Hold on.
misinformation. So you saying that what she's saying is okay because that's just
I
what
did
they
not
say
listen.
about us. That's
No, no,
not
no,
an
no, no,
okay
no.
statement, right? And it's up to us as Black women to correct them on it, to stand in our culture and to stand on business. I don't see nothing wrong with that because Amira gets on this panel a lot and disrespects Black culture, and we give her a lot of passes. I know personally, I've given her.
And I'm giving her 0.
How would I?
Period.
How did I
I think we
disrespect
thank you for that, Danielle.
0. Because I don't want. And also,
Because I
I'll
wouldn't
mute
know
because
how
I
to
know it's one
articulate
mic.
it
Hold
as
on. We
calmly.
can't hear what everybody talking
I'm
over
sorry.
each
I'll
other.
mute because I know it's one mic, but I have a I
You
have
know what
0
she's doing.
patience.
We're not taking advice
0.
from somebody who comes from a failed homeland.
I'm not taking
You
advice
come from a failed homeland, and then you come over here and have an opinion. You don't have one. You don't have a leg in this fight.
So
You
let me
invited
clear.
your out to just sit down and just observe.
I've
That's
never
all.
heard
So
Amira
let
say
me
anything positive about Black
What have
people.
I said that I was
And
that was
also, can I
advertised?
just say
Hold on.
this real quick? Because we keep saying one mic, and I just want to land my plane here. I have 0 tolerance for people who come in Black spaces telling us what they say about us. What did
Please
you say?
listen.
Don't come
Please
over
listen.
here talking about what they said. We know what they say. We live in this skin every day. We don't need you to say it. So it's okay to be quiet and sit in the back, pretend like you Rosa Parks. Go to the back and be quiet.
Wow,
Stop
isn't that
coming over here.
racist?
Stop
What kind
coming
of
over
racist is
here
I
being
said
so
that?
All right,
Why
so
would you
loud.
think you
So
said
check
it?
this
Period.
out. Check
all right,
this
we
out.
got
Check
it.
this out. Let
Hold
me
on
let
real
me
quick.
just be very very clear because
Rosa Parks.
I'm Black as well. Okay. So what we're not gonna do. I heard. I'm a listener. I listen to people. I heard what she said, and I'm just telling you what I think what was said. Now you can look. We're having a conversation. We want to be solution based. Our whole point is here is to be a better people, right? So I took what she was saying to make us have a conversation on making us better people. So y'all not gonna put me in this. Oh, y'all, you taking no.
No, I wasn't. I'm telling you, you a better
Okay.
person. We don't need her to add to a conversation. You a beautiful Black woman. You educated. You teach children. You don't need her 2 cents to tell you what Black people say. or what white people say. Because I've yet to hear her say what she said. Let me tell you what I know y'all not gonna want to hear it. I know they not gonna want to hear what I say, but
That's why
when
they
I'm
don't
in
want to
the
see it.
rooms, this is what they say. They say black people are lazy. We've been hearing that since our whole life. Tell us something else. Oh, I learned about R. Kelly. No one cares. So say something positive and beneficial or be quiet. That's
All right,
period.
look.
I
All
I'm
right.
not,
agree.
and we don't need people benefited or taking up for white women. America does that enough. I think we'll be just fine.
Who's
All right.
Go
white?
ahead,
All
Darwin.
right,
Go ahead, Darwin.
all right, check this out. Let's set the tone. Let's set the precedence. First of all, everybody has been invited on this panel to give a perspective. So if your perspective may not align with the other person's, that's totally fine. If JR or any host of this panel didn't want people from outside speaking on a particular topic, he would have never invited her. She reserved the right because she was invited here to speak on it. Yes, she's gonna have a perspective that you might disagree with. That's totally fine. It only got to be followed up with disrespect. If you feel like she's getting it wrong, you use that opportunity as a time to educate her. And if she don't receive it, you can't get mad at that. Maybe she don't want to receive it. Maybe she's okay with her perspective. That is totally fine. What we can't do is say that you have to be quiet on this topic and you have to be quiet on this topic. Everybody's been invited to be able to give their 2 cents on every topic, no matter what race, creed, gender, whatever the hell you are. You are allowed to speak on it because you've been invited here to speak on it. If we didn't want you speaking on it, you would not be here. And I'm gonna tell y'all one thing about this that y'all don't understand. Y'all been hacked. When they come up with these topics that are blanket topics that don't even point to a specific problem, you're being hacked. It's hard to come to a resolution or a mutual understanding when we are not trying to resolve a specific issue. You get what I'm saying? That's why I'm always asking to give me an example of what you're talking about within this genre of topic we're talking about, so we can actually resolve it. I guarantee you, 100% of the problems that people are complaining about in these clips, if we narrow it down to the specific problem, we can find the fucking solution. But we don't want to go there. We just want to keep talking about, well, they receive more than we receive. Okay, how many of them motherfuckers signed up for it? How many people got denied for it?
Oh, come
We
on.
have to speak to a specific
Sweeney,
problem
you up
to get a
next.
solution. And if it is the case that, for example, the example Danielle gave about the DEI hires, that only 3%. If it is the case that they were denied, then let's speak to why they were fucking denied and start there.
Well,
Go ahead, Sweeney.
if I had to speak specifically to that bruiser, here's the reality of it. All of that shit was meant specifically for us. That's how it started. It was specifically meant for us. They turned it into DEI, but it was originally affirmative action. All that shit was meant for us. Everybody else attached their hitch to the ride, and they were able to benefit from something that was specifically designed for Black Americans. And then a bunch of other people came in and were able to benefit from the very thing that was meant for us due to our experience in this country. And then turn around and say, well, why aren't you getting yours? Because they're giving it away to you. They give
Is it
it
a law?
away.
Is it legal?
Right. They make what I
Not
mean.
keep it solely for Black people.
No, what I mean by that is
Sweeney, DEI, Aisha talked about this weeks ago. DEI was not ever meant for Black people.
No, I'm not saying
DEI
DI specifically. I'm not saying D, but the whole redress, when affirmative action was meant for Black people, then everybody hitched their ride to the civil rights movement. Everybody hitched their ride to. Everybody used us as a buoy to get what they wanted out of the country. They'd say, "Hey, look, due to the civil rights movement, we attach ourselves. You got to do this for us. Then you got to do this for us." And then it died. Then all the set asides that were supposed to happen in this country, we got overstepped, and we would start to be given to every single other group besides us. There's no reason why we're 13% of the population and only get 4% of the benefits. There's no reason for that other than a concerted effort to lock us out. That's the
Sweeney,
difference.
I want to believe you. I want to believe you, but
I believe black people made it about us. It wasn't never about us. It was about LGBTQ. No, it wasn't. It was not.
LGBT is recent. That is
It was
not.
not.
You can't show,
Sweeney, if you
can't
work
show
in
me
corporate America, you would know DEI was never ever focused on black people. When it rolled out at the company I worked out, it was about people with disabilities and ramps and being
Right, but
inclusive to
No, I get
all
that.
needs in the company. It was never
No.
a black person's face on DEI ever.
I
We
didn't
made
say
it
that.
about us and said DEI is about us. It was
No.
never about us.
I didn't say that.
It was never about it.
Y'all looking at the specific term DEI. What I'm saying is that
you just said that everybody hits their.
Let me say what I'm gonna say, and then you can respond. We fought for specific rights in this country. That's the whole reason why affirmative action was created. Then every other group came in, and instead of creating their own movement, they jumped on our movement and used us as a stepping stone to fast track whatever they were fighting for.
But see, here's a problem. Here's a problem with your argument, Sweeney.
Jesus Christ.
But I'm about to tell you what the problem is. If I see a whole
argument,
if I see 100 people and it's evenly spread out with multiracial, and I say, you know what, all of them motherfuckers are starving, and I toss a fucking turkey in the middle and say, this is for black people, have at it. Are you convinced that turkey is for black people when everybody in the motherfucking group have access to it and are hungry?
Y'all, you do.
That's not what he arguing against, though.
If everybody has access to it, it's not specifically for black people unless you can show me. Hold on, unless you can show me a law or a statute that says it's restricted to just black people. If you can't show me that, then it's not for black people.
We can't hear both of you at the same time.
I'm about to explain to you how. The reality is, before the 1970s, before the Civil Rights Bill, most people were to the right of the decimal point in this country. Any Civil Rights Act, anything that was created due to our justice claim and our fight. And everybody who saw our justice claim and saw our fight hitched their ride to our wagon. They didn't create their own movement. They jumped on the civil rights bandwagon and said, hey, because of that group, because of the laws that was created for that group, you have to then do for me. I'm not arguing that anybody who may be harmed in this country shouldn't have something in this country. What I'm saying is when people come over here and look at black folks and say, why don't you have? The reality is that because we don't have, because they're giving it to you. And then they ignored us. They ignore us and give it to everybody else.
I'm not arguing against that. So my argument is that if you say that this is for black people, but there is no written line, no on black and white that says this is for black people, what do you think is going to happen when everybody start reaching for the resources?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, if that's the question that you asked, exactly what just happened. But
thank you. So my whole point is,
hold on, wait.
But black people are getting finessed into thinking things are for them when they don't even have their name attached to it.
And so, all right, fair enough.
That's why I use the word minority.
Think about how they dispersed all of the reparations. They had names attached to it. Any benefit that they gave for specific races or people had a name attached to it. These things that you're talking about be created did not have black.
We're gonna try to get a couple more people in there. Marcus, what you got on it?
Sweeney could have. Never mind. Go
ahead. You know how when we watch some of the videos and there be women talking about they standards and expectations about how they expect to live in a lap of luxury and all that shit, and I'd be like, I don't think we should have a problem with those women. I think we should thank them for letting us know exactly where their mind state is. I feel like you should unilaterally apply that and thank people for showing, like, in general. If you don't have it if you don't have the extensive history of everything, this shit will be confusing. Because one, you're not gonna get taught it in school. You're gonna have to go outside of school or have a familiar experience to understand the exact history, how all of this shit transpired. My camera keeps going on. So I can't even get that frustrated about somebody not knowing. If you were a Black American and you don't know, you either learn to communicate with your family and never communicated it, or you never took the time to read to understand exactly why some of this stuff would be extremely offensive. It's a concerted effort to remove the guilt, the white guilt that the white people who know what's going on in this country have, right? That's why they're trying to remove slavery out the history books. That's why they're trying to rewrite how everything played out and transgressed in this society. If you were able to follow that whole train line from the beginning to the current day society, all of this should be extremely clear. And a lot of stuff that people say would be like, damn, that was really disrespectful. But people don't know. They really just don't. And it's not just white people, it's black people that don't know, it's all types of people that don't know.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to try and educate and go through every last detail. So you'd be like, oh damn, that is not only connected, it was intentionally connected. It was done intentionally this way for this specific result. People have 100-year plans, 200-year plans, 300-year plans. They run surveys, focus groups, brainstorm, all, and they get government grants and funding to dictate how behavior in humans is done. At the base level of all of this, humans are animals, and you can do predictive diagnoses and predictive things to be able to, like there was a study where they could determine which choice you would make based off the food that you ate that day. All of this stuff has been detailed, so you can create human behavior. Most people are followers and sheep, right? So you use propaganda, you can create a narrative, like what D.W. Griffin did with The Birth of the Nation, where they said that all black men were just brutes that were going around to rape white women, right? So from there, they were able to lynch and hang black men from trees and ropes and all those things. And the people celebrated because the propaganda that they were fed through that allowed them to dehumanize the black man. Prior to that, they had one in regards to how they dehumanized them for slavery. Jumping forward, they did it with it was a movie called Reefer Madness. I don't know if y'all familiar with it. It came out in I think it was the 50s or the 60s, in order to legitimize the war on drugs, because they then created the narrative that black men were going to smoke marijuana and then start raping white women. That's been the trope this entire time as far as how they achieved the atrocities that they've done and been able to legislate racism, right? So then the civil rights movement came, and this stuff happens on a local, national, and a geopolitical scale. You have to understand all of that to understand why, hey, why would you ensure that the Asians, when people during COVID wouldn't shop with them based off of XYZ, were able to go to the government and get $300 million in funding for convenience stores because they weren't making money, because there's a geopolitical presence that they need to maintain a relationship with them, right? And the super PAC that works within that group is able to allocate and get the resources directly specifically to that community. What all of these things culminate and create a soup that if you don't understand, like what who was it that said it? If you don't understand white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. So things seem to be innocuous or just random occurrences when a lot of this stuff is it's planned out. And that's not to remove personal responsibility, because in this day and age, you as an individual can personally take it upon yourself and then make something for yourself. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm not saying woe is me and we can't do XYZ because of XYZ. I'm saying that you're making it in spite of. It's a barrier, and not everyone is going to be able to get over that barrier. And it's a specific barrier for a specific people, for a specific reason, for a specific amount of time. And no redress has come to try and do it, because it's still a prevalent ideology. And we've been finessed by the Democrats for a long time because we believed that they were fighting that fight. So to Sweeney's point about people sliding, everything like the immigration policy reform and all those things, the nationalization of it all came due to the civil rights movement, which then allowed people to tack on and then come to the country, because there was a racist ideology behind who they would allow in and what countries was allowed to come to America, right? Then you move forward, and that's the same ideology. So they say, okay, we're gonna let these people in so we can appear to be better people on the geopolitical scale. And we have to foster a relationship with these people. So when these people get here, we have to make sure that we have set aside so that people can flourish. The original sin of slavery that they try and distance themselves from, it is something that they're not going to be able to shake until they get reparations, because it's so many other things going on inside of that, outside of just the economic standpoint. This is why I never would move to an all-white neighborhood. No matter how much money I have, I'm never moving away from my people for various reasons. But I also want my kids to be in ingratiated in the community that don't seem to have no problem being by themselves and wanting to be left alone, but everybody else seems to disparage at every turn. In case in point, like that's separate but equal. It's a lot of Black people who feel like, man, integration was the worst thing that ever happened to us. Because at the core, we just wanted to be left alone to be able to flourish on our own. And it's been intervention and things that have occurred throughout that whole time. I know I'm jumping around, but this is a 4-year course to understand all the information to get to the point where you're like, God damn, this is deep. And it's not gonna happen in 15 minutes on no podcast. It's really not. So it's really no point. I would just say if you actually interested in learning about all of the stuff, there is material that exists. You just have to go educate yourself. And this is for anybody that's watching, anybody that actually is like, but where we run into a huge issue, which is why you see like this. I know people like, man, I hate the FBA. This so divisive. What y'all are witnessing is people saying, hey, there are people who don't understand but share a similar resemblance to us, and then they're speaking up on topics. Like I found myself questioning where somebody's from every time they make a statement that's anti-Black American. Like, man, you look like me. And now I'm starting to notice, like, nah, you really don't look exactly like me. I can see the difference now that I've been asking that question and put the ideologies to the question, because I'm like, oh, you think the same thing as them people, because the ideology that it would take for you to leave a homeland full of your people instead of flourishing it and float over to America or however you get here is a different ideology than somebody who has a consistent issue with this. So partnering to fight against this system is never going to occur because you willingly travel to come into the system. Now, the second generation and third generation, they may get into that because then they say, oh, I see kind of how the system is, and I see the lies that I was told about these people. So now I can see like, oh yeah, I need to be more empathetic and learn about whatever's going on so I can partner with. But it's deeper than rap. It's so deep. I don't even have enough energy to explain all of it. But yeah, just if you're interested, look it up. If you're not, just please like, just because we share melanin and you may identify as a Black person, that does not give you the understanding of the actual history of our people, which is why I brought the FBA thing in, because we realized that this is occurring. And we were voting based off this person is Black, that person is Black. And we're like, why would you do this? Why would you co-sign this? Why would you push and allocate this money to the AAPC? Why are you an APAC? Why is APAC your number one donor?
People of color?
All of these things we say, oh, it's because you don't understand the full history. You came over here, looked like us, identified, and got elected on being Black. And we're just now understanding that not everybody has the same experience. So yeah, I just say God bless everybody. And by the time our people fully figure it out, the hell to pay for everybody that did us wrong. God damn.
No, we're gonna do it God's way. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna
You know what's so funny, Marcus? I think that people don't care until it's them, right? I think that anybody who's not white has experienced whiteness. You feel me? I think that we live in a society where everybody wants somebody under them. You know, it's like, oh, I'm big and bad. I want somebody, even trailer park wants somebody under them. That's why a lot of trailer park people are racist. You know what I'm saying?
It's a prerequisite for capitalism. Capitalism is a pyramid that builds upon.
Everybody wants a superiority. Oh, well, I'm over you. But at the end of the day, you're not white. Okay. And at the end of the day, your people will feel it. You've probably felt it in your country. You probably felt it in the neighboring country, right? And I think we often forget that when we come to come here. And what happens is, and we see that a lot with our Hispanic brothers and sisters, they understand now that you gonna go through it. I mean, you safe until you're not safe, until it's about you. And then you go back and be like, dang, all that stuff, all those privileges we had, Black people gave us them privileges. Like, you weren't able to walk over here and do the things that you're doing, until we did what we did to give you that opportunity. But unfortunately, they're not going to see it that way. They're just not until it happens to them.
That's what I meant by they hitched their wagon to our ride. That's what I meant when I said they jumped on, because everybody built their movements on the backs of us while also ignoring us. Like, you know what I mean? That's the problem that I have with it, is that they built their movements on us, while also simultaneously saying, don't worry about them over there. They're lazy. They're this. I'm better than them. Do for me.
But Sweeney, it's built into the country because
Yeah.
like when Irish and Italians came over
When
initially,
the Irish became white,
they were indoctrinated as white, right?
Yep.
So initially they was treated in similar fashion at that time to some degree as
Yep.
Black Americans. The difference between both of those groups is we never assimilated and we cannot assimilate, and most of us never would want to assimilate, but we did. So then they structured and slated government contracts and jobs. So the Italians got the transportation, plumbing, the sewage, transportation, garbage disposal, and they were able to monopolize on government service industries. And other groups did those things. And when they got to a certain financial slate, then they leveraged that they were now acceptable enough to be considered white. They still don't consider them fully white. And the white people, the 1619 whites, will make sure they tell those white people that they're not the same as them in the near future. It's coming.
You said black people didn't want to assimilate?
I've never wanted to assimilate in my life.
I would argue that black people
that want to assimilate are usually spouting some points that also make them contrarian to the Black community and
look a mess.
Well, I would say black people
look a fool.
Committed the biggest assimilation in American history, and it was integration.
That's false, bro.
Was the biggest assimilation. We wasn't. Hold on, let me finish my point. We wasn't forced into integration. We marched and fought for it. And when we got integrated, we created a legal wall. That means that there can be no benefits, no programs that serve
integration. We fought for equal rights. White people changed it, but
like I said, when we got integrated, when we fought for it, we marched for it.
What did we march for?
What happened?
We integrated with white folks. I'm just
okay. Well, we could agree to disagree, but just let me get the point off. What happened was when we wanted to integrate. When we integrated, it created a legal wall, and what this legal wall does is it prevents federal aids, federal governments from giving something specifically to Black people. It is illegal to do. I think that's Title VI.
No, that's false, Bruiser.
What? Well, okay, what is Title VI?
Well, no, you're right that federally you cannot do something specifically for based on race. However, wait, let me finish. However, you can do something specifically for a harmed group. For example, you can do something for Black American descendants of slaves. That's the reason why Black people are trying to change and create that delineation between us and just skin color, because they still do things for the Jewish community. They still give out set-asides and stuff for the Jewish community based on them being harmed, and they are a specific group. You can do things for a specific group due to harm that was caused to them. But yes, you're right. You cannot do it. If we were to say, hey, only Black people or only Black people or this race can get something, no, you cannot do that according to the law. However, when you say, hey, the descendants of American slaves who were harmed by America, we're going to give them set-asides because this was done to them, you absolutely can do that.
Has it been done?
And they do it. They did it for the Indians. They do it for
has they done something since Title VI? Since Title VI, have they done what'd you say, the African descendants of slaves? Have they put it in, and has it been approved?
They don't. So you're
no, I'm asking. You said you can do it.
You're asking.
The answer is no.
Right. The answer is
no.
Why haven't they done
it? That's not because it's illegal.
Well, okay, why haven't they done it?
Because they're not. Why do something for us if they don't want to do it?
Okay, so I'm just trying to get what's on the record. What is the legal reason why they have that? Has it even been denied?
There is no legal reason why they can't do it.
No, what I'm asking you is, has it been submitted and rejected?
So the reason, if I was to guess, the reason that I would say that what they've been doing right recently is they've been conducting a study, right? So the general consensus is that the 51 or more % of America would have to vote to try and redress the wrongs in slavery. The problem comes in where the people who are supposed to be creating the studies, and then so how the Japanese got paid for the internment camp was they went to Congress, they got the money in order to create documentaries, right? Those documentaries then in turn changed the general outlook of the American public on what occurred during that time. Then once it got approved by the general consensus of America that they needed to redress that, then they were able to get, I think it was like 25K or whatever. But they tried to make the people who were direct descendants of what happened whole again. The problem we run into is 51% of America is not race, it's still racist. So they view it as they're not gonna assist us in redressing that wrong because they see you as subhuman. Like to believe in anything else, that look, they can do it. If America was not racist, it would have been done already. Because it has not been done, it is proof that they are still racist.
I agree with you, but I'm saying it's impossible. It's illegal for it to be done because of Title VI. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
You cannot get black. No, you can't.
Title VII.
It's against the law.
You
cannot
can't
do it.
delegitimize their culture. You're talking about based on race when
I'm
black
talking
people
about
have
I'm talking about the argument we had earlier that got shut down. I'm saying you cannot attach, oh, this is for black people only and no other race can have it.
No, I know that, but I'm saying black when you
Since you know that, it's my point, but I never was able to get to it. My whole point is it's a question that I was going to pose to Sweeney. Since you know that, since that title, we cannot attach black to it. Do you think if it weren't for integration, we would be able to attach black to something specifically?
I don't think integration matters. You're saying if it weren't for
the Civil Rights Act and the title, okay, so let's say Title VI and Civil Rights Act. Before that, you could attach a race to something to get sole benefit. You can't do it no more.
But you asking the people who created race.
Hold on, wait. You're right. You cannot attach race to something. You're absolutely right. However, that does not mean that America cannot address and give reparations based on the specific harm that was done to Black Americans. America can most definitely do that.
According to what law? Like, you're saying there's no law preventing them from giving reparations?
There's no law. There's no law preventing them from giving reparations to Black American descendants of slaves.
So why are you convinced that Title VI or the Civil Rights Act stops any race from having a specific benefit? How are you convinced that?
What?
I'm asking you.
Hold on, wait. I don't understand.
You're saying that post Title VI and civil rights, you can attach a specific race, Black people, to and reparations.
That's not what I said.
Owed. It would have to be lineage based. It can't be.
It would have to be lineage based. It's like, all right. For example, you got to think of it from this perspective. You specifically, Bruiser, were deleted due to something that happened to you, right? And then your kids would go and say, hey, because you, the American government, deleted my father, you owe us something for that. That's not their race that will be getting that. It will be them as a group and the descendant of you that will get it. That's why I keep saying for ADOS, American descendants of slaves, because there was a specific harm and a crude disadvantage that was given to a specific group of people. And that's how you would be able to address reparations. One of the main reasons why a lot of people actually do have a hard time with reparations also is because they cannot determine who's supposed to get it, who not. Because there's a lot of Black people in this country where they were saying, hey, there's a lot of Black people that came over here after the 1980s. How do we determine who gets reparations and who doesn't? Because at first they wanted reparations to go to all Black people, regardless of whether you came over here in 1980 or you were here since the 16, what is it? I can't remember the specific date. They were saying
1860 census.
Right. So that created its own different set of problems. There's a reason. That's the reason why I keep trying to say that you notice that there's been a push in culture for Black people to delineate themselves from other Black groups, because we're trying to get that reparations claim. And you can't get that without that delineation. Because we're not just a race. We were a specific group that was done specifically wrong.
Okay, I got it. Now I understand. So pre-Title VI was reparations. What did the government or whoever is supposed to pay out agree that they was going to give black people reparations prior to Title VI?
All right, so hold on, wait. Yes.
Okay.
However,
Thank
hold on,
you,
wait. Hold on. I'm about to explain to you though. It wasn't because it was given to us because of a race, though. We were largely the only other group in this country at the time.
I'm not arguing that. I just want to know that little piece of information. I got another question.
Right. So
you said yes, they did agree. Now, after the agreement, was there ever a case before Title VI where it was either revoked, stricken down, or turned over?
No.
Okay. Well, I think you need to do your research.
There was never a time where they said we're not going to give reparations because it was illegal for us to do it because of race.
I get you, but I found something different, and I'll pull it up for you. Just give me a moment. I'll let somebody else go. But I did find where it was reversed.
Well, you can't reverse something that they never gave. They never gave it.
No, I'm saying M. White said that they agreed to give reparations. I didn't say they gave it.
You mean
I said they agreed? Hey, look, we're going to give you this. This is pre-Title VI in civil rights. We're going to give you this. And then there was a point after that where it was either reversed or turned down or denied.
Right.
I'm talking about that particular time in history. You're saying that never happened.
No, what I'm saying is when they revoked it wasn't because they said, oh, man, we can't address a specific race.
No, what I'm saying is pre-Title VI, was there a point in between the time they said, hey, we agree to give you reparations, and in between that time, was there a point where they said, you know what, we're not going to do it? Or somebody said, you know what, somebody came to office and said,
Title VI, the Civil Rights Movement, you're talking about the Civil Rights Act, right? Pre-Civil Rights Act, right?
Right. What I'm trying to do is,
well, I was going to explain to you, reparations was off the table long before that.
Okay, you said it was off the table. What does that mean?
In other words, they were not giving out reparations. They were not.
What was on the record that convinced you that they were not? Was it a statement? Was there like, hey, look, this person said no?
I believe
they did not pass the legislation to push it forward. Then it was removed, taken to the United Nations court. The United Nations ordered a payment of the reparations claim. However, they don't have an army to enforce that. So it's paperwork from the United Nations where they're saying the specific harm, the redress that needs to occur, and XYZ, they refuse to do it. And they don't have an army to enforce them to pay it because America is the largest army in the world. So you can't force them to do anything. And if they pull out, then what the UN gonna do about it?
Yeah, I think Danielle was trying to get in there too. Go ahead, Danielle.
I think he's more so trying to prove a point and not trying to hear what Sweeney is saying. But I also feel like, to his point, a lot of times I know white corporations who hire a black man who's not American so that they could have a black-owned business and receive incentives from the government for that black-owned business. So it does make sense for us to figure out the difference between a black American and a black person who comes to America. And that doesn't mean that we're anti-diaspora, because we're not. But just like we respect Haitians, we respect Jamaicans, we respect Dominicans, we respect Nigerians, it's okay for us to get respect too, which is why I keep saying opting out of using race as an excuse. You can't trust a group of people who made race in the first place and then made that be a fail-safe to them giving you something. They're the people who made white and black and then said it would be illegal to give black people something. So it doesn't make any sense to use that as an argument because you can't trust them. They're like, slavery was illegal. I mean, slavery was legal. So it's like you can't trust these people to make choices based on morality and right or wrong and then use a fail-safe. And it's okay for black people to decenter the race aspect of the word black and say, I am culturally black, I am black American. The same way every other culture who is black does it. It's just you gotta, and you also gotta stop. No, you gotta stop caping for white ideologies. Like, it's not helpful.
Hold on, wait. This is my own ideology. I don't cape for no
It
white
sounds
ideology.
white. I'm just
Well,
telling you.
I don't know how you. I don't know how
I
you
always
get
said
sound
that.
white. I'm
I
just an
agree with
intelligent
I
man.
said you. I no. I'm not talking about how you talk. I said you have to stop caping for white
I didn't say
ideologies.
anything about white people.
I
I heard
said why. I
everything.
didn't say you did. You're
How is this a
arguing
white? How is this a white ideology?
because you're pinpointing. Hey, you can't do this because of race. As in that's if that's not systematically ingrained. You
I
are
didn't
not
say
a.
that. I didn't say or deny that it was systematically ingrained. I just stated that there was a law saying that you
So
couldn't do it.
what? There was a law who said you
How
couldn't.
is me?
There was a
How
law
is
who
me?
said you couldn't read.
How is me speaking the law saying that? How is me speaking the law that's on the record having a white ideology?
Because a law said you couldn't read, a law said you couldn't get married. So it makes me think you have a white ideology arguing against a
Okay,
black
well,
man
you can.
about a law.
Okay, I got it. You can think that I got a white
According to
ideology.
your three,
I'm just
but your
reading what
three,
the. I'm basically this. This is all I'm saying, Sweeney. There is no law that says black people won't get reparations. There ain't no law. We understood that. But every reversal, every veto, every unfunded program, and every block bill has said it without saying it. The government didn't need to write it down. It just made sure the promise was never filled. I agree to that. But what I'm saying, what they did with civil integration and civil rights in Title VI just made it almost impossible.
Well,
It
actually,
made it impossible. So whenever you want to have something, whenever you want to have something for yourself, it's illegal to have it. That's my whole point. You can say it's whitewashed or whatever. I understand black people's plight in this situation. I just know that I'm just
it's
talking about
your
the fact.
plight too. It's not black people's plight. You're a
I
part
get
of
what.
the plight too.
Hold on, Danielle. I get what you're saying, Bruiser. But
Just because I said black people's plight doesn't mean that I'm not including myself.
Bruiser, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is that reparations is not impossible because of the way in which it's supposed to be fought for. If we fight for it the right way instead of just attaching race to it, that has always been a problem. You're absolutely right. That once you make something that once the law was put in place that you cannot discriminate based on race, color, gender, and all of that, yes, you are absolutely right. If you just put race on it, it will make it an impossibility. They cannot create a law that specifically addresses and give something in favor just on the basis of race. However, that does not mean that black descendants of slaves cannot get reparations. You just have to fight for it in a different way.
And all I'm saying
Or
is, in
you
order
just
to
have
fight
to
for
be
it,
Asian because they gave it to Asians. They gave it to Ukrainians. Like, and it's not impossible. All they have to do is give it to us. And it's not something that we should have to fight for. It
Well,
is righteously due. And when you say black people's, you could have said our plight, our culture, our people. You keep
who did they get? Who did
dis.
you say they gave reparations to?
I didn't say they gave reparations, but they signed laws. They signed an anti-Asian hate crime
They
bill.
gave it. No. They gave reparations to the Japanese from their
And
internment.
also
They gave reparations to the Jewish people when that didn't occur here, and then they gave the land. So damn, what the fuck is the name of it? Where they gave all the land to European settlers that would come over here, and they got more land equity if they acquire.
there was the Homestead Act, right?
When did they
That
get
should have been
that?
the Homestead Act. So when you tell him to do his research, again, I keep saying you're caping for white ideologies because it is proven in history that they swiped a pen and gave people what they thought those people should have.
How is that caping for white people when I never even denied what I never argued in white on that?
I said ideologies, not the people, but I'm saying your frame of reference, your set point is based on arguing it's
White,
impossible.
did
All
I
they
just
gotta do
argue
is
with
sign a piece of paper.
in white? Did I just argue with you on what you just said?
The last 20 minutes you have not been arguing that, but the initial points you was making made all of the post comments seem like bad faith arguments. I know exactly because I've heard your stance on this.
The only thing I was doing was asking a question
so
for clarity.
I can put some clarity. No, yeah, so I can put some clarity on what you're trying to say and do. So Danielle, his general philosophy is, from what I understand, he correct me if I'm wrong, by black people accepting integration, and welfare or any set asides, opposed to strictly staying, pay us our reparations, nothing else, then we allowed ourselves to be finessed out of getting reparations because we didn't have them redress the specific harm, and then had them do lift all boat programs that affected everybody else, which never assisted us fully, which is what needed to occur. That's his argument. The last 20 minutes. Prior to that, it was what
That's always been my argument. And the thing that you said was important. You said that they did give reparations. My question was,
and they gave them to slave owners. The people who owned the slaves got reparations.
When did they give it to them? Like when was the deadline? Like what was the last time they gave out reparations?
To the Japanese, they gave it to them in 1988. That was post civil rights.
So they agreed to give it to them. They
Yes.
never had any issue about nobody turning away, nobody rejecting.
Here's the language. This is what I mean by there's a specific language, because if they said, hey, we're going to give something to just Japanese people, then no, they would not have been able to do that. However, the language was Japanese Americans who were surviving, who were survivors of the internees. So that could have been black people that was
married into it.
No, they gave it to the descendants and those who were victims of being in internment camps in America.
So it included.
It was just specifically to them because they were the ones that experienced that very specific trauma. It was the Japanese Americans that experienced that. So
that's where I'm coming down to, because I'm glad you put that out there. You said that they gave it to him. They put it on the record that they was going to give it to him. Boom, it happened. The last thing I saw that they put on the record, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, was the 40 acres in the I think the mule thing or some shit like that. And I think what president was it that came in to overturn that shit?
Well, that happened in 1865. That happened.
It happened before the Title VI and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
It happened way before that. As soon as Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, as soon as he was assassinated, they damn near reversed everything. And as a matter of fact, they took everything that they gave to the descendants of slaves back and gave it back to white people. And then on top of that, gave them reparations for their losses that they took after during
that time frame that they, I understand that. So my question to you is post integration. I'm glad M. White brought it there because he understood exactly where the hell I was going. Do you think that black people coming into the situation with the civil rights and Title VI finna happen? Did you think that they saw all this shit coming, that, hey, look, if we get integrated and they erase all this and bring everybody equally, then we'll be better? I will
say that you can look throughout the civil rights movement and you can tell that reparations wasn't always at the top of the ticket for that until Martin Luther King realized that he was like, man, I led my people into a burning building. And then he said, and basically what he said was, you cannot fix a group of people until you address them until you give redress to the specific harm that was done to us. The only difference is there's always been a group that's been that has fought for reparations in this country. It's just not widely a thing that you see widespread. However, if you think about it, back in I think during the 2016 election was the largest push that you've seen for reparations in almost 60 years. Like, you haven't seen a push for it. You didn't even hear reparations mentioned on the national debate stage up until that point. So this is actually a newfound headwind into the reparations movement. The problem is to your credit, you're right. You cannot just make it a black thing. It has to be a specific group that was specifically harmed, just like every other group that has gotten reparations in this country. It can't just be based on race.
So if MLK, based on what you said, if MLK was to do it again, are you convinced that he would have chose this instead of integration?
Well, I think MLK was already I'm thinking that MLK was already well on his way to doing it before he got assassinated. The problem isn't that he didn't do it. It's the fact that he was killed before he could even finish.
Well, he stated that he marched them in it. He took responsibility on that because he led the people into there. And when he said, I feel like I led my people into a burning building, I'm convinced that he saw what was happening. And that's why he said we need to go to DC to get our check. That's all I'm saying. What I'm saying, it wasn't in our best interest to, and to Marcus' point, to accept anything but our motherfucking paper. And then we should have entertained anything else. But we should have got our motherfucking.
Actually, I think all of that is encompassed in that.
We should have got our goddamn deposit before we entertain anything. We would have kept our own ice machines, our own bus lines, our own bathrooms. We want our motherfucking check. And I think we would have done way better from that point on moving forward. That's all I'm saying. And they can call it white ideology all you want. I'm just saying
that part not
at
white.
that point, everybody went their own motherfucking way.
And I want to say something else. When we talked about, I wanted to make this point earlier. Kanye had a song when he was talking about, I can't even go in the grocery store without some ones that's plain on a shirt with a chain. He was talking about the collective, what is the term? The cultural low self-esteem in regards to finances that Black people have, which is a direct result of the history of everything, which makes some people try to assimilate and some people try to show their wealth at all times. So you can't devalue me because I'm Black, because I have this money. That is a result of the ideology of racism and having to prove one's worth. It's one of the reasons I refuse to try and assimilate, because I'm valuable and I don't need to prove to nobody else my value. It's because my self-esteem is high enough to say, fuck you. I don't really care if you like me, think highly of me, any of that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that may seem like a tangent, but it tied in at the time. It just was on my brain.
Also, I think, fuck it. I agree with Mark. This ain't shit that you can really cover in a 3.5 hour live.
Okay. Trev, you want to say anything? No, you've been
not on this one. I'll stay in my place.
I do have something to say about the fool in that video, though. I can be real and say that I agree with Marcus. Sometimes I start to question who people are.
I was just
where they from, because
it's important to know your lineage. Like, know where you are, know who your Black people are, because a lot of these tether class, these immigrants, they get into our spaces and they try to speak for us. And you can always tell because it's never in our best interest. And they ask questions just like Darwin, like, oh, why do y'all deserve reparations? Or why can't we get any? And what is it based on? It's very specific. You can look, the 1860 census is available. It's literally free. So trace your people back to the census, to your lineage. If you're from down south, it's Black people, we know who our people are. We have family Bibles. I can trace my family back to like the 16th century. So I don't think it's that hard.
And I just want to say, people that immigrate to America are not tethered. That's you're not. I'm not saying nothing about your point. I'm just making sure it's clear, because some people will hear this and be like, "Damn, you called us a tether because we immigrate." You're not a tether for immigrating to America. That's for the fifth. You're not a tether for immigrating to America. You're not a tether for immigrating. You only become the tethered word and all that shit when you do things specifically to undermine or harm Black Americans in the process of trying to rectify that. Like when people have created groups like In Cobra and said, well, we're not going to let reparations go to Black Americans. They got to go to a race base. It's got to go to all Black people. And the people who are doing it are not Black Americans. So they want to ensure that they're associated with it. Or when they give the money for a study, those people pocket it and funnel it into their organizations and do specific scholarships and funds for people, because then they'll delineate at that point. Or when you go and address it in front of Congress and say Black Americans don't deserve reparations, representing yourself as a Black American, but you're not actually a Black American and you're running with the ideology. So that's how this whole tether word came to exist. And I'll say it again, all immigrants, it's some writers and it's some great people from other countries, but the tether word is specifically allocated, like what Trev just did. He was like, I'm gonna stay in my lane. I'm not about to say nothing bad about what's going on. Trev could never be a tether. You see how he was like, that shit is not the tether is not a synonym for immigrant. You have to do things to undermine us. The people who be in the chat saying, get over slavery, you're a tether. The people who be like, y'all don't deserve you're a tether. the people who go speak in all these different positions to say negative things about Black Americans, to be the vocal point, you're a fucking tether.
The Shade Room,
Tether.
Madame Noir,
Filter world.
Feathers. Those aren't black.
Yeah. Shout out to the immigrants that's riders and don't be doing that shit, and fuck the tether.
Very smart brother. The Root.
Tether.
But yeah, old boy in that video, bro. Sometimes when I hear certain things, it make me question who people are. Because when you talk about bullying, first of all, most Black folks aren't bullies or proprietors of bullyship. Most Black people don't go around trying to bully people. So when you sit there and you say something as goofy as, "Hey, you bullied people, so how could you be mad when the white man comes and bullies you?" I start to question who you are, where you from, why are you talking like that? Do you actually know us? You say you grew up around us, but you gonna sit here and tell me that you looked around and you seen most Black people as bullies? And then when Black people take their fight outside of the Black community, you be the first one to get in the way? That's that cornball shit that Marcus was just talking about.
So what is the solution for all of I know there's things that we can handle right now, things that we can't. For what we can handle right now, what do y'all think is the primary focus?
Well, I would say
Black people should be. Go ahead.
Well, first, specifically the solution for those who get in the way, you have to be able. That's the whole reason why we're delineating now. Is that way you take people out to space who think they can speak for us, and you start to and you say, "Hey, look, that person isn't us. They shouldn't be speaking for us." That's first and foremost. You have to delineate. That way you can start recognizing who's the ones who are actually talking and who are the ones that are speaking for a group that aren't supposed to be speaking for them. Because I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of the shit that they say is wrong in our community, I see it everywhere else. I see it in a lot of other communities, but they mask themselves.
I think you brought that up today, didn't you? That white people's going through the same shit.
Well, I wasn't even talking about white people. I was talking
with the relationship stuff.
Talking about the immigrant class.
I'm just talking about specifically in the diaspora.
Yeah, the immigrant class, the diaspora. We done been over there. We seen the little shanty towns. We know how they living over there. So for when they come over here and they get to pointing the fingers and saying, "Oh, you niggas is divisive, you don't deserve reparations," and we looking at them like, you have a feeling.
Are y'all even interested in why they like? I get it. I think the whole point of having a panel conversation, I get the video you talking about, motherfuckers should be taken out of space. When we come right here, I think there's a certain level of interest that wants to know, like, what does these motherfuckers think about this particular topic? Is it okay that they speak like? I know Trev said he gonna back off, but I mean, it's some. I do have a little interest to hear what Trev might think. It ain't got to be just specifically a Black thing. It's anything we talk about.
Well, I would say that first and foremost, like for example,
what they think.
Hold on, wait. I get what Bruce is asking. I would say first and foremost, I think a lot of people need to start announcing who they are before they say us as Black people. Because I think a lot of stuff gets thrown on Black Americans, and it's not always Black Americans that are the leaders in such behavior. You know what I mean? I think we get a lot of flack for the music that we put out, but then when you start to look at the lineage of the people or the artists, and you find out a lot of them aren't Black Americans. But we're the ones that bear the brunt of that stereotype. So I would say I would ask people to announce at least who you are, and then say, "Hey, look, I'm this person, and this is what we need to address." That way we can at least know, okay, you're addressing something from your community specifically. But I've seen, like, you know what I mean? They point to City Girls and Cardi B and all these other people, and none of them are Black Americans. But we are the ones that have to bear the responsibility and the brunt of who they are. So when people outside look at our culture and our music and they say, "Oh, that's all y'all culture," and it's like, no, that ain't just us. So why is it only being blamed on us?
So you think Black culture is specifically black race. So are
No,
you saying that other races can't mess with black culture?
no, what I'm saying is that you have people who come in and they mask themselves as Black Americans and then do nefarious shit. And then the only group that takes responsibility for the nefarious shit that they do are Black Americans, and then they get to go back and then say, the Caribbeans would never do such things, or the Somalians would never do such actions, or Nigerians would never do such actions, or hey, what else am I thinking of? Jamaicans would never do such actions as those Black Americans over there. And then you like,
well, let me ask you this, Sweeney. If it all went down, let's say it all went down, black versus white, do you think everybody of the same skin tone is going to come together, or different cultures is going to come together? And when you think we get attacked from the whites, do you think they're going to attack us based on our culture or based on the color of our skin?
well,
So
that might be the reason why people are trying to. What do you said the word assimilate, right?
Assimilate. So you ever heard of meritorious manumission?
Yep, I heard about it. Yep.
So during the time of slavery, when people were trying to organize to flee and escape slavery, they would grant freedom to the people who would tell on the people who were trying to escape from slavery. That is the inception of black people hating snitches. It's carried on from there. That's the inception of. So when people are like, yeah, it's been perverted, right? Because now it's turned into we gonna allow crime to go along as long as you black. But the inception was based off of that. The same way I was saying, like how gangs turned out was the inception of a political movement, right? It seems like over time, and this is this, and when I draw the lines and shit, right? In my mind, if I go pull up the stuff that they unclassified, declassified, that'll show you what was going on, right? You'll then begin to see that even though we're we're there. So that's why I made the point about using propaganda or using ways to give somebody a deal and these type of things. Damn, I just lost my train of thought. My fault. Y'all got it. I just lost my.
No, you good. I just wanted to know. Go ahead, Swing.
But yeah, to explain, America is not dumb on who they are attacking. They know exactly who we are. They are not ignorant where they're blind by skin color and say, oh, I have no idea if you're a black. They know exactly who we are.
And from an HR,
but Sweeney, that kind of goes against your point just now. That goes against your point just now when you say that you think that people should identify themselves so there's no confusion.
Well, no, there's a difference between white folks knowing exactly who you are, and then there's other groups that come in and mask themselves as African American. What I mean by that is white folks, when somebody comes in and says, I'm Nigerian, white people know exactly. It's not that white people are attacking based on skin color. They're not saying, oh man, we can't see between these group of black people. They know exactly where their laws and everything is specifically supposed to address and who they're specifically targeting. What I'm speaking to is when people come over here and then they say they're us, and then they do things, and then all the blame gets thrust on Black Americans for the culture that you see, when in reality, it's a lot of people that are coming over here bringing stuff over here that wasn't necessarily us as well. But they're saying,
so whenever white people report on our behavior or our media or whatever, and let's say for your point, it's a Cardi B, somebody, what do they say since they know exactly who we are?
They will say
that's black people.
They will say
or is that Latina, Afro Latina?
They will
say black unless it's an accomplishment.
They're gonna say
Latina.
I see what Sweeney is.
She telling the truth. I see just made that face.
I see. Yes, he telling the truth.
Something bad is black people.
So when she goes to jail, they're gonna say it's the black person.
Yeah, when it's something bad, they're gonna put it on us because the group that they want to look bad is us. So they're gonna say, hey, look at those black people over there doing that specific thing. However, they know
that they're not black. And
Okay,
and
okay, I got it. So when black, okay, let's okay, hold on.
Don't know. So sometimes they don't know.
You reverse
So when
that,
Ado, hold on. So when Ado see Cardi B up there twerking and shit, do they say that's a black woman, or do they say that's an Afro Latino woman?
So what used to happen is that black people were very generous in who we were, right? So we were very accepting of everyone at one point in time. However, I don't know if you've been noticing the shift in how Black Americans have been seeing things as of recently. You are starting to see specifically Black Americans start to say, "Hey, that person ain't us." As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things against Barack Obama was the fact that now Black people are starting to see Barack Obama as just a what was he
Kenyan,
Kenyan white American and not an African American. That's why you starting to see a lot of people say that he wasn't black, and also the reason why you starting to see a lot of Black people say Kamala wasn't black is because you just now starting to see Black people really create that delineation that wasn't always there. We used to be like, all of us, we used to accept everybody like black is black, it is black, until we started to notice, hey, look, something is wrong here. And
But
that's
our
why we're
culture
currently starting to
still has.
I feel like that just started with this election. I feel like, I feel like before then, Black people were not drawing the line.
Right.
Just going back to DI, we want to include everybody. You're saying people hitched their cause on our backs, but we allowed it. We said, "Come, we got you. We support you. We are inclusive to everybody. If you like Black people, then we love you." That's where that comes from. So you're saying that they did it, but we let it willingly happen to us, right? Because we are always so inclusive of everybody else, at the same time denying ourselves and the things that we need for ourselves. That's why Bruiser brought up integration, because instead of fighting to say, no, you're going to give us this, why can't we go in y'all restaurants in? Why can't we ride y'all buses in? Why can't we F that? No, the ice is not cold. Your ice is not colder than our ice, right? And so with that situation being said, it really was. And we have to sit here and acknowledge, you're saying that, right? It just started happening. It just happened with this presidential race. And what happened to African Americans? The big divide. How can y'all say she not black? She is black. Her daddy black, so she black. All of it, everybody had a different argument, whether they believed it or they didn't believe it, and it was a complete line down. If you didn't believe she was black, you not like us. You ain't black if you saying she ain't black. All of that, if you want to talk about bullying, that's where the bully came in. That's where the bullying started.
So let me ask
you not black. You taking up for somebody. You saying that she's technically not black. She's Indian, and we still haven't seen the black daddy that everybody says she got, right? And the black aunties that I'm not done.
Let her cook.
The black aunties that she said she had never surfaced, and in that book it came out that it was a lie. So the big divide just happened in 2025, where people are saying you're not black or black. You don't have to agree. I don't need nobody to agree with me.
That's not a fact. We have never lived in the world. The immigrants have been over here for about 60 years. The Haitians, Jamaicans, whatever, right?
What's not a fact?
Lived in a world where we
what's not a fact?
We've
what's
never
not a fact?
existed with them.
What's not a fact?
I grew up around them. We weren't allowed to go into their houses.
Say it again.
What is not a fact? What did I say that you are against?
And that we just now started to delineate and notice that there was a difference between other diasporas. That's not
Sweeney said, speaking up about it, speaking up publicly about it in public spaces on platforms. This has just happened. Before then, we were so inclusive to everyone. That's how you think Cardi B can say the N-word. How do you think Cardi B can say the N-word and she claimed to be black when then when she was on Love and Hip Hop, she never claimed to be black. But in her music, she say the N-word every other word because we let her say it. Aisha, are you listening to anything I'm saying?
So
what are you talking about?
So I
hold on. Let Shane go real quick.
So real fast, I see what Sweeney. I was hearing something different from Sweeney. He was just saying, "This is what I got from it from halfway being asleep." What I heard from Sweeney was sometimes the things that are happening in our culture is not necessarily us. It's other people who look like us who are doing it, right? And I can vouch for that because there's a lot of people who they get in trouble over here. They're rappers and they have to go back to the other country. And I'm like, dang, I didn't even know he wasn't from here. You know what I'm saying? And so you thought he was from here because he looks like us, but then you find out because something went down that now, like, dang, now he got deported, you know? So, but you get the rep of being bad and he's not even from here. Like, people don't know the difference, right? But this is the thing. I get the whole Kamala situation. We go so hard for people who not even doing nothing bad, right? But why are we going hard for people who are doing bad? Like, we so quick to call out, okay, Kamala, she's a politician. She's done, you know, and that's fine because you probably don't agree with her or whatever. Barack, okay, these are people who are doing good things, whether we agree with them or not, right? But there are people.
That's not my point, Shan. That wasn't Sweeney's point. That wasn't my point either.
No.
Whether they're good or bad, I'm saying the conversation arose.
This is not your point nor Sweeney's point. This is my point. I'm just saying that we're so quick to point out people who are not really doing anything bad against our race, but we don't point out, like you just said, Cardi B can say the N-word. We should have been pointed that out a long time ago.
You can let them come up, Jack.
Or people who degrade us, you know, by putting stuff out that's supposed to quote unquote represent us. We don't call them out like we calling everybody.
I said you can let them come up. I'll bring them back down.
What'd you say?
Oh shit, my bad. I'm sorry.
What did you say, Darren?
I'm sorry.
We did point it out. And I think kind of you and Casey are kind of hitting on the same point, right? There was, like, for a long time, Black people have always been Black is just Black, because we were largely accepting of everyone. If you were Black like me, we understood. But the reason why I say this is recent is because there's a reason why you start to see studies where they start to figure out, okay, who was actually getting accepted into college? Was it Black Americans, or was it just, or did you notice that, or that's when they started noticing that a lot of Black immigrants were being given spaces that they were claiming were being given to Black Americans, but that was simply not true. There's a reason why you're starting to see the delineation as far as wealth in this country, and they're delineating by actual specific groups. All of that is recent. All of that wasn't happening 15, 20 years ago. Yes, Black people did treat other Black people as Black. My only thing was that what happened is that I think Black Americans tend to always get a bad rap and we eat the failure of all the other groups that may be doing just as bad, that come into our culture and mask themselves as Black and then do some fucked up shit, and then they get the not necessarily them specifically, the person who did the dumb shit, but the group that they come from don't have to eat the failure of that person because it was thrusted on the Black Americans. It wasn't thrusted on the Caribbeans. No, when Cardi B acted a fool, nobody says, look at that the Latino community and how they behave. It's look at them Black people and how they behave.
Absolutely.
Like, so that's what I mean by we have to eat the failure. It's not the specific person. Of course, the specific person can come out later on and say, oh, well, I'm Latino American, but the damage is already done.
Well, let me ask you this, Sweeney. Let's say I think it's safe to say that you probably 80 to 90% of your bloodline is from Africa, and maybe 10% of it is from America due to inbreeding, through slavery and the overtime. Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe 80% of it is white. I don't know. Somebody can argue that. But how are we able to accept people that's 50% white? Like, I think Danielle just came out. I think maybe she was 50% white. How are we able to accept somebody that's 50% white, but we can't accept motherfuckers that's damn near 100% Black that come over here or from our same
we're a
byproduct African tribe or some shit like that?
I'll let Marcus handle that one.
We're a byproduct of an ethnogenesis that occurred. There were melanated people prior to the Pilgrims arriving in America, right? So our DNA is a mixture of it's some Anglo-Saxon blood in there, it's indigenous blood, and it's some African or Afro-Asiatic blood in there. So we became at the foundation of this country, we became a new ethnic group due to that. So none of us would be 100% African because that's not the creation of the people you would constitute as Black Americans in this current state. So it might be somebody that would be more like, so I see somebody, like, to answer your question, the person that would be 100% African would be 100% African. We're not 100% African because we're not continental Africans. We're part of ethnogenesis that occurred in America or Turtle Island, if you like really want to go further back. And it's plenty of books that detail when the people came here that the melanated immigrants existed. There's a thing called the Dawes Act, where they went to reservations after the separation and they removed darker skinned people from there and reclassified them. It's called a paper genocide, and reclassified them as colored or Negro and then moved forward. So we've been through several different name changes. We went from slave, native, to Negro, to colored, to African American, Black American, and the newest iteration is FBA. Because the attempt to codify the language to draw a circle around a specific group of people is what's occurring.
Yeah. But you get why I asked that question.
I get why you asked it, but we're part of an ethnogenesis that created a unique people in this land.
Oh, okay.
It's tribal. There's no different. It's tribal. This is our tribe.
This is our tribe. And just they like to say that the boat dropped everybody off in different places, from Africa. So it's no difference between a Haitian or a Jamaican or a Fijian. Like, everybody's ancestral DNA goes back to Africa. So this notion that we somehow have more African blood in us than a Jamaican is insane. Like, they probably have more than we have, because we all come from, Africa. The mitochondrial Eve hypothesis. Like, there's no way that, with that logic, everybody is African, and we're not continental African. So I always find it strange that people try to act like they don't understand that. Like, you can look at me and know that I'm not a continental African. And it's like, why do they do that with Black Americans? Why do we have to have such this affinity to Africa, to this continent that we haven't even been on in over 400 or 500 years? Some of us are indigenous to this land. So I don't understand that whole concept.
The other thing is the majority of slave ships did not dock in America. They went to Brazil and the Caribbean. They went to the Caribbean for the majority of the slave ships. America stopped importing slaves a long time before. So, which is part of the ethnogenesis that I'm speaking of. It was a breeding farm that occurred here.
We became cattle.
Admixture. It's a specific admixture that creates us. Yeah.
I was trying to explain to a dude. I was like, you kind of almost hear it in the music. Like, you can damn near hear it in the music that our music is significantly different over the last 60, 70, 80 years than any other group, and especially specifically in the West Indies. Like, you can hear that their music is still closer to, closer to African than our music was. Like, heavily influenced by, but that's because they were still bringing slave ships over there. Like, they were still importing people from Africa long after America stopped. Like, I can't remember the specific date that America stopped really bringing in slave ships because they started breeding us. But long after that, they were still sending slave ships to the Caribbean. That's why you can still hear the influence in their music from the continent, where it sounds similar. You can hear the influences, whereas sometimes you don't necessarily hear those influences in our music.
What point are y'all trying to make? Y'all making a point against Bruiser?
No, we
what?
were just talking at that point. I don't think we was even
He asked a question about how how can you say somebody that's half white, half Black American is more Black American than somebody that's 100% African. And I was explaining to him what the ethnogenesis created and why that would be a different yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and get to these super chats, man, as we get up out of here. CND funding, $5 says TV tells nothing but lies. It's a screen that display a lies through visions that is not the image of black people. Tell live vision. AP sponsor the show. $5 says my brother in the videos needs to wash his shirt with Head and Shoulders. Damn, bro, you got lint. You got a lint roller? CND funding, $5 says as a man, the bullies are the most broken in a community. Those who forgot history are bound to repeat them, so never forget. BZ, $2 says, I'm a bedroom bully. Does that count? Frenchie, $5 says, Shan, please stop trying to save her. She told him to leave the country. Not acceptable. Sponsor the show again, $55. AP, Aisha Danielle Dash, stand on it, my sisters. They earning this tonight. AP again, $10. Title, what is VI? What is it?
6.
6, all right. Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in programs or activities receiving federal financial assistance. Bruce is correct. AP again, $5. I understand that Sweeney and Marcus, salute brothers, are saying, however, I excuse ignorance. Some of these folks don't even know they're in the way. AP again, $5 says, Bruce, educating the people is where we start. That's why these panels are so important. That's what y'all are doing now. Salute to the entire current panel. I want to thank everybody has contributed to the platform. Shout out to the sponsor of the show again, AP. We want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Make sure you guys support everybody on the platform, follow their YouTube's, Instagram, and stay current with what they have currently going on and in the future. And we are out. Thank you guys.